Welcome back once again to the Luminary Life Update podcast. That's right. It's back. Or at least I'm not going to say that it's back. I will simply say, hey, there's another episode. Isn't that crazy? So, first things first. I got to get this out of the way. Well, I guess also important to mention, it is currently 3:06 a.m., January 20th, 2022. So now here's the important thing, because I've been staring this down, and I wanted to get it going, but also I wanted to start recording the podcast so I could include this as part of it. So, very importantly, because I'm already kind of tired, if I'm being completely honest, so we're going to see how this whole thing goes, but anyway. Oh, there we go. Gotta take a long drag of Mountain Dew. Thank you very much. Ooh. Not quite a monster, but it doesn't matter. So, let's take a step back. This might be a more chill episode. It might be a less chill episode. Who knows, right? I've had episodes in the past where I start really slow, and then once I get going into things, I just can't stop myself. And also, of course, the chair creaks. We all know that. And then my desk creaks from time to time. So if I lean onto it for some reason, now you know. So, here we are. It's been about a year and a half since the last episode. The last episode was uploaded in August, and it was from July 19th. So, 2020, I guess I should enunciate. It's now 2022. So, sadly, I can't pretend any of the episodes will have, had a 2021 typed onto it. But also, as I look at the thumbnail, like the backing image right now on my second screen to look at it, right? I don't have the image for that anymore, so I'm gonna have to make it from scratch, which is not too hard, but also it might be hard. If I'm honest, I'm gonna let you into the secret now. I'm probably just gonna take a screen cap of the video and then fucking edit that into the thing, so it'll slightly be compressed for here and forever, I guess, from here on. And you'll find out why much later. All right, there you go. So I've got some notes here. I was keeping notes about all of this fun stuff. I guess let's just it's called the Life Update podcast. Let's give the life update. So, I work in retail. Pretty cool, right? I know, pretty crazy. And I have been working since about October 2020. So, I've been working for over a year. It's the longest job I've yet had. I've been working for about a year and 3 months or so. So that's cool. That's a big reason why I have not had the time or the chance to record one of these. So that's the first excuse, right? So I would have had August, September, and October to record it, but I simply didn't. And now I've been working and life is a mess, right? So that's where I'm at. I do stuff. I'm not just a dreg of society wasting away in a basement somewhere. I am, in fact, applying myself and, earning money and doing fun stuff, right? So that's where the podcast has been. I have some notes back from when I was still somewhat actively doing the podcast, and so I have notes from around August 2020-ish, but then I just stopped once I started working, and before starting this recording, I cobbled together what I could of everything noteworthy that's happened, at least relevant to me. Of course, an entire year has gone by, so it's not like I'm here to comment on every big thing that's happened, since the last podcast. But, that time has passed. The opportunity for that is gone, and you know, we're just gonna have to put up with it. So that's pretty cool. Um, so I have my notes from late 2020 that I will go over, but then also we'll have kind of the lightning round where I go through all these things, because all these details of things, you know, it's maybe 2 or 3 a month on average. Um, it's basically, my notes are just the title of the thing, and maybe 1 out of 5 has like a 1 sentence extra note that's like, be sure to mention this part or whatever. So I'm just kind of sitting back in my chair and just basking in the moment. I guess I should get the show on the road, but um, anyway, I don't really have any other grand re-welcoming statement. Unfortunately, I'd love to do something grandiose and be like, "Ta-da! Here we are! I did it!" But you know, that's what you're listening to right now. The fact I'm here in your ears is that. So, with that being said, let's get through the fun process of busting into these. Right. I will say one more thing. Normally I work in the mornings, and normally I work like in early mornings, like 4 a.m. start time, and I'm working part-time. I'll have a whole thing about the work situation later, but my point is that I don't often have multiple days in a row, so because I have to go to sleep around like 7 or 8 to go to work, it's hard to find the time in the middle of the night on an off day when I could, you know, be up in the middle of the night to record one of these. So that's also a problem. So that's why I also want to make it clear this is not. So one of the first notes I made, well, actually, the first note I made was, no, thankfully COVID didn't also kill me. That would be too much for all of us. Though don't count it out yet. It's not over by any means. But another one is the the note I made was that it's over, but not really over. More episodes may come in the future, and I don't know what I meant by that. You know, a whole year ago, it's. I hope that this episode's scatterbrained. I mean, they've always been scatterbrained, I think. Now I'm trying to be a first take Frankie, and I'm just gonna let the tape roll while I wax lyrical about shit. But I mentioned that in the last episode that I wouldn't cancel it without saying something. Oh, no, I haven't. That kind of spooked me. Hold on a second here. Hold on. My screen turned off, and that really fucked me up. But uh yeah, I was worried about the recording. Anyway, let's look at this, right? It's I last episode I finished by saying it's not canceled, and if it was canceled, I'd say something, and then I felt really bad that I haven't said anything. Uh as always, the Discord server is still a thing, and I post on there pretty much daily in my direct feed channel that at this point is basically just my diary, and it helps me kind of track my thoughts and my musings on things. But yeah, so it's not over, but also it kind of is, just especially while I'm working like this. And it's over in the sense that I don't think I can do. I'll say I really don't think I could do monthly updates, and B, um, it's really hard to do it when I'm working so much. So yeah, I won't say that it's over so much as it's on an indefinite hiatus, and it pretty much always will be at this point. But it's hard to really gather my thoughts on it, and also to word my thoughts into some capacity. So, yeah, it's a lot. So, anyway, let's start blowing through these, shall we? I need to save a copy of this document so I can start deleting things and know that I'm done with them. All right. So, let me reopen this thing here. I swear I know what I'm doing. Okay. So, no, thankfully COVID didn't also kill me. That would be too much for all of us, though. Don't count it out yet. Smiley face. Where has the podcast been? Once again, it's over, but not really over. You know, I mentioned this thing about canceling it and not actually canceling it unless I said something. So, next up, in August. So, let's flash way the hell back, shall we? Let's flash back to, I ran the podcast from about, I think June 2019 was the first episode, and then, up until about August 2020. So, somewhere along the way, I would have mentioned how I got some money from my family. I don't know how in detail I went with it, so I don't really care to go into detail with it here. But I got some money at the end of 2019 that let me buy a Death Stranding PS4 Pro and also just some other stuff, So, while I wasn't going to college, I was paying rent while living with my parents, and I still do live with my parents, and I still do pay rent. And it's not a whole lot of rent. I'm simply throwing the fact out there. And so, essentially what happened was, I was paying rent, and by about August or September, I was running out of money with which to pay rent. Now, my original plan was, I was going to enjoy the end of 2019 with my new PS4 and get a job in 2020, in early 2020. Then in January and February, all that COVID stuff started happening in China, and I was on the ball with it, seeing it, go down because I was following Mr. Medicare streams about it. So I was like, yeah, fuck all that shit. And then in March, it hit the States, and we all know the joke from there, right? So I was like, well, this sucks. I'll get a job when this shit's over because A, I don't want to get it, and B, I don't want to potentially give it to my parents, right? But August and September rolled around, and push came to shove, and basically, it's, a whole year and a half later, it's really hard to tap into the same emotions and thoughts that I had. But I had a quarter-life crisis at the age of 24, and I was just kind of struggling with not knowing what the hell I'm doing or where I'm trying to end up or what my trajectory was in general. So I was running out of money for rent, so I had to go get a job, and I was frustrated as all hell because I couldn't figure out if I wanted to go back to college or for like the third time, God, or if I wanted to work somewhere or whatever. So push had come to shove, and I had to get a job somewhere. And I realized that even if I was going to college, I was still going to have to go get a job. That was the rule. So I was like, well, fuck that, essentially. So I applied to a nearby pizza place, and then I didn't hear anything back for a month. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm too good to work at a fucking pizza place. It's not like a huge chain like Pizza Hut or something, but regardless. I was like, okay, well, fuck that. So I guess I'll go work at a local grocery store as a freight stalker, which didn't happen, right? And now I'm just totally skipping all over the fucking place. But to continue through this first section here, I got a job at the store in October, and then I switched over to electronics within that store a couple months later, and that's where I've been since, and it works pretty good for me. So we'll get into all that fun stuff much later as I kind of hit all these bullet points and then let my brain just go off on them, and we'll see how, wherever we go. One time I said, oh, who knows how long this podcast will be, and then I got really tired at the end and zoomed through everything. So I don't want to say that again, because I don't want to estimate how long the podcast will be, because then I'll feel extra bad about how long it takes to get there. So I had a quarter life crisis, and I just I fucking went through it, man. also amidst all of that, I had genuine, I think I expressed that in the podcast, I had genuine kind of fear and paranoia almost about dying from COVID because I really, at 24, I was really not interested in dying, frankly, because there's a lot of stuff I still want to experience and see, and I don't feel like I've gotten tired of talking to people and expressing my emotions and thoughts to others in hopes of expanding our collective understanding and expression of each other, So that's cool. So, continuing here in this first section, I finished Shin Megami Tensei 4. Quick review. It's a pretty great game, but I'm still not a fan really of turn-based combat. And the map sucked. But it was pretty brutal, and I'm glad that I finished it because now I can say, "Hey, I beat SMT4. Woo!" And I jumped straight into SMT4 Apocalypse. I don't know if I said the full name yet. Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. Because at first I was like, I should put stuff in between, but I don't know. I jumped into it because I'm like, I know the gameplay was pretty much the same, so I might as well get the sequel-ish out of the way, and blah, blah, blah. And, I hate to spoil over an hour ahead into the podcast, maybe even over 2 hours ahead, but over 1 hour in the podcast. I still haven't finished Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. It's like my white whale. I've never once officially dropped it. It's just always been... The problem is that I've picked other stuff up along the way, and it's been a complicated mess in the whole fucking year since then. So I will tell you right now, I'm as close to getting back to finishing it and catching up on stuff as I have been since then, so that's good. But anyway, yes. I started playing Apocalypse and also Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I really, really liked for the most part. And I had to start playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey because I've played every Assassin's Creed game. I thank you. Thanks for saying sorry, but I haven't played Origins or Odyssey or Valhalla at the time of this note. Okay, actually, now I finished Odyssey and Valhalla, but we'll get there. And Origins, for some reason, wouldn't run on my computer, but Odyssey, the year after, would. So I had to just skip over Origins for now. What's really weird about it was that it made me grapple with the fact my processor in my laptop isn't as powerful as I need it to be. That's the weak link now at this point, because I'd never had this experience with a game before, but now I am aware of it, where I could run Origins in full max graphics and it would look beautiful, and it would run smoothly for about 3 seconds, and then it would freeze up, and then in 3 seconds, and it would freeze up, 3 seconds, and then freeze up. And that was just so baffling to me, because I'd always thought of PC gaming as like a speed of which, you can carry this heavy of a load, and however more graphics you put on is obviously the lower frame rate your machine can produce. But in this case, because the processor wasn't powerful enough, even though I could load the graphics as much as I wanted, and lowering the graphics didn't have any effect really, I just couldn't run the game because all the other stuff that was going on really messed it up. So that's unfortunate. I look forward to ticking it off someday somewhere else, I suppose, maybe on my next computer or something. So yeah. Last extra little note here, back when I like to almost cover gaming news, hey, the big gaming news 2 days ago, Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, that's pretty crazy. But anyway, last piece from the old notes before we get to the lightning round is that Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition was not going to launch, and still hasn't to this day, was not going to launch on PC. Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition only came out on Series X and PlayStation 5. And even though it added Vergil as a playable character, and it also added ray tracing and legendary Dark Knight mode, which essentially just adds a bunch of extra enemies to every encounter and makes it almost more like a Dynasty Warriors kind of thing. And I think one or two other things. It added all those things to Devil May Cry 5 to make it the special edition, but on PC, all we got was a $5 DLC for Vergil. It's still cool they gave him to us, but they didn't, where's all the other shit, right? So that's frustrating, and to this day, now it's just like, the DMC reboot Definitive Edition that came out, a few years before. The reboot's DMC Definitive Edition came out on Xbox One and PS4, but not on PC. And, people are like, it's the reboot's the bad one, right? And that's, yes, it's not amazing. It's not a terrible game, though. It's a pretty alright game. And regardless of all of that, regardless of the quality, why wouldn't you want the clearly better version of the game out on as many platforms as possible, right? It's just weird and annoying. So that's that. So that was the end of my August 2020 to October 20-ish notes. Now we can get to the actual fun stuff here and talk about all of this stupid nonsense that has actually gone on. And I'm going to have to figure out what the title of this episode's going to be. That's going to be fun. Anyway, let's take another drag of dew, shall we? Oh, God, I needed that. Okay. So, this is such a chill, laid back, I got my feet up podcast. I'm just kind of just hanging out. We're just, just catching up like a couple of old buddies. So, here in the lightning round, I have all of the names of the notable things listed off here in monthly order and all that fun stuff. And I'm just gonna hope I can pull something to say about each of them out of my ass as we go along. So, let's get started. October 2020. 12 Ounce Mouse Season 3 came out. That was pretty cool. I watched 12 Ounce Mouse, I think, a couple years back, and it was very funny and very strange. I watched it with a friend for their first time a little bit before then, I believe. And, yeah, so when Season 3 came out, we watched it together, and it was really fucking crazy. It had like a much clearer through line to its plot than Season 1 and 2 did, which was very strange. And there's this one character with like really, it's like a dark skinned character with really long blonde hair that goes down to his feet, and he wears these boots, and he doesn't have a shirt on, and I think he has like a purple visor over his face, and I can't remember when it comes up. It might just be what he always does, but every time he walks around, he like kind of swings his arms from side to side like he's like dancing, and they always play the same song over it, and it was so fucking funny to me every time, and I really wanted to make it like a GIF or something, or just some kind of viral, meme essentially. I thought that was funny. So that's my favorite part from 12 Ounce Mouse Season 3. I finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That's the second thing here in October 2020. God, I better not list off, the spatial context for each of these. I'm just going to hope you can follow month to month. So, I finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and it was kind of emotional, actually, considering how long it took to finish it, because it took a really long goddamn time, because I fucking did everything in that game. I fucking hit all the locations, I ticked all the boxes, I even went out of my way early in the game to fucking, like, I don't know what I did. So, all the regions are split up into levels and stuff, right? So that like there's harder enemies, and if you're not high enough level or if you don't have good enough gear, you're gonna get obliterated by them. And for some reason, I really wanted to explore around, so I drew up. I didn't draw up the map. I found a picture of the map online, and then I drew like my trajectory through it, and I was like, I'm gonna go over here because I could like kind of circle around in this weird clockwise fashion, around this coast and then down over here to the bottom left, or I could just go straight up through the north through these hard areas to then go all the way over to this island in the top right that's like the hardest area. And I did that just for shits and giggles, basically, because there was a lot of open terrain, so as long as I just didn't run into any soldiers, it was fine, and it was just fun. It was fun needing to cross that on foot instead of fast traveling everywhere, and when I think about it as a open world game with fast travel, typically you'd have to walk everywhere, or would use a horse, whatever the fuck, right? And then once you get somewhere, you'd fast travel. So naturally, through game progression, you'd be like, you have to go over here, and the story's now gonna go over here, and then you'd walk over there, and you'd have this experience of going to the place for the first time. And I guess I just totally ruined that for myself, or at least just had fun dismantling it by just going everywhere at the start of the game and then doing the story once I'd already put like 80 hours into it, so that was funny. But just because of the amount of time that I spent in that world, I actually got really attached to the main character of Cassandra, just because I had spent so much fucking time in that world. It was crazy. I didn't even really care that much about her character, but once her story was over, I was like, that sucks. So that was funny. So also around that time is when I started working in Relay. That was the official name of the position that I was in. Relay was a team of like 5 or 6 people. We met up at 4:30 in the morning, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And we were helping this store with its reopening at the time. So I was joining really late into it because it reopened in December, just a couple months later. But we were just a mercenary ragtag band of weirdos, not weirdos, but just people that just helped, kind of not restructure the store, but just a lot of really simple, stupid stuff that would just help kind of clean it up a bit. So, everything from like redoing an aisle to follow, what's the term I'm looking for? To follow I don't know. I'm thinking of a word that starts with like a SCH, but not schedule, like a ska something. I don't know. Just, relaying aisles to follow what they were supposed to be in these new plans or whatever. And the first shift I ever had actually was taking shelves off of end caps, or just shelves in general, finding the scuzziest, most effed up shelves and replacing them with new shelves, to make everything look better. Dealing with kick plates, which are the black metal rectangular bits that are under all of the shelves. If you go, I don't know if it depends on what store you go to, but as you go down the aisles, like the little black bar things under even the lowest shelves that are basically there to stop stuff from rolling under shelves and just collecting there. And God, that was so fucking annoying. Let me tell you, physically exerting yourself with a mask on, no good. I felt very poorly about my job at that point in time. But anyway, we also, some days we simply just helped the freight crew deal with their freight because they had like way too many toys in for the holiday season, so we just fucking helped them do their freight. There was one time we had to do overstock, but then the way we were going through it just meant that we would all of it was on one pallet, so we'd take something off to go check it, and somebody else would take something off to go check it, but then when we'd be done, we'd put it back on the same pallet, and I was like, well, if we keep doing that, then we won't know what's been worked already and what hasn't. And so how do we, keep track of whatever? And I raised that concern to my boss, and she was like, she basically was like, don't worry about it. And I really liked the boss I had for Relay. So it's not like it was one of many instances of her being an asshole or anything, but just that was one thing where I'm like, well, what do you mean? We're not gonna do this any efficiently at all if we just keep, it's like if you had a room full of furniture that was dusty, or just, I don't even know, just some kind, like, and you had to dust the furniture, but then every time you dust a piece of furniture, you'd go to do another one, and then somebody would dust the same piece of furniture because there was no way of telling if it had been dusted or not, right? So you could just spend an hour just doing the same thing over and over, even though it was done in the first 10 minutes, right? Something like that. So, yeah, time went by. We ended up doing one or two shifts over in electronics, helping them figure some stuff out, and that's where I got to meet the manager of electronics, and he was a pretty cool guy. Eventually, the store reopened in December, and then Relay dissolved because we no longer were needed. So we'll continue that plotline when we get to December. Last thing of October 2020, the first Doom Eternal DLC came out, The Ancient Gods Part 1. And let me tell you, it was fucking crazy. It was fucking hard as fuck. Okay, this shit was brutal. Like, Doom Eternal as a base game is all about learning the dance, and then eventually you can just fucking fold the dance in on itself and tell it to go fuck itself, basically. So then the Ancient Gods Part 1 just cranked everything up from the base game to 11. And just, it's only 3 levels. Both parts are only 3 levels apiece, but man, it really just ran you through the fucking gamut, let me tell you. I died so many times in that fucking DLC. It was crazy. I actually had a friend over. He played it the moment it came out, and I took a few days to play it because I was working or whatever, and he was watching me just get fucking bodied through all of it. It was hilarious. Okay, so we have nothing to report for November 2020, because as I started working, as you can imagine, picking up a new routine really fucks with your ability to do the stuff you were doing before. So, yeah. So, December rolls around, and I switched to electronics. So, how wondrous was that, So, I'm still in electronics right now. That's where I currently work. I'm working in the electronics department of this store. And I gotta say, overall, it's pretty good. Right now, in the moment, we're in a bad state because we're normally a team of like 10 people, and we're down like 3 or 4 people right now just because a few people left over the course of like 4 months last year, and just our HR just is not able to find anybody to replace them, unfortunately. And I had a wingman that was always there at 4 a.m. to help me do the freight, but he left after Black Friday, so it's been kind of shitty ever since. But my boss is really, really cool. He's really fun to work with. We crack tons of jokes. He's really knowledgeable about all the stuff that I don't know about, and it just works really well. We have a great dynamic, both just shooting the shit when we're at work, and also whenever a customer rolls around, we're really good at like bouncing jokes off each other or whatever. So I really enjoy the job. I hate that we're down people right now because I have to work more, because I only wanted to work like 3 shifts a week, and now I'm working, 5 shifts a week, which is just the norm, right? Fucking fucking boo-hoo, right? But I didn't want to work as much as I currently am, and I don't know what my plan is beyond working there right now, or even what it was going to be if I was only part-time working. But I think as long as I'm still doing stuff and I'm still saving some money here and there, I think I'm doing an okay thing. I don't know what my future looks like in terms of careers, and I don't feel like I'm any closer to figuring it out than I was, 2 or 3 years ago, for that matter. But at least it's I don't know. At least it's a thing that I'm doing, right? So that's where that's at. Also in December, Yakuza 7 came out. Or should we say Yakuza Like a Dragon? Now, all you Westerners, like me, you might call it Yakuza Like a Dragon or Yakuza Lad, L-A-D, but everybody knows it's actually Yakuza 7 because it's kind of a soft reboot for the series. It has a new protagonist. It's now turn-based combat instead of real-time beat-em-up stuff. All that fun stuff still takes place in the same universe and the same timeline and all that fun stuff and everything. But it's just a chance for the series to kind of redo itself. So when they brought it to the West, they called it Like a Dragon so that people wouldn't be put off by the fact that it's the 7th fucking mainline Yakuza game. But I've already played 0 and Kiwami 1 and Kiwami 2, so I know that there's 11,000 Yakuza games, and I'm not afraid of that, right? I just find the title Like a Dragon extra funny because the Japanese name of the Yakuza games is Ryuga Gotoku, which means like a dragon. So, you know, it's like you're saying like a dragon almost. And I just find that fucking funny. So, Yakuza 7, please. Just call it Yakuza 7. Yakuza 7 was fun. I had a friend over to watch most Almost all of the story, most of the story. There, 2 different ways, whichever you like better, just take that one. Thank you. And that was fun. It had, I remember it a bit, but I also don't really know what I felt about it, and I think that's kind of a negative thing, but I don't hold any ill will against the game. One thing I will say is that it had a really good ending until the ending. Like, when you're in the heat of, like, all of the big, climaxes of everything, it's really, really fucking good. But then the last actual bit of it, there's just one little bit of it in there that just, for me, just completely soured it. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. It genuinely made me really mad, not only at what happened in universe in the game, but also like at the developers, because it was such a boneheaded thing. I could see what they were trying to do with it, but it was also really, really just frustrating, and I did not like it at all. So I really like Yakuza 7 as a game. It was fun playing a turn-based game, once again. But just that ending, man. I think I need a follow-up to Yakuza 7 to see where those characters go, and if there's a resolution to what happens in the ending, to then be able to, like, put my fucking pitchfork down. Because now I've been holding it here for over a year, and, it's getting kind of heavy, but, I just thought of something I gotta fucking throw on here. Excuse me really quick while I type this in here. Yeah. I don't even care to fucking, like, edit any of this shit, so fuck you. So, finally, we're moving on to January 2021. We are now in the year of 2021. Yes, indeed. Blah, 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 blah. So, January 2021, I was able to buy an Xbox Series X. From my store, nonetheless. That's right. Not a scalper. None of that bullshit, right? I not only got to buy one at retail price, I got my fucking employee discount on it. So, eat shit, So, since I typically work those morning shifts, right now, because we're so fucked with people, I'm kind of all over the place, which I'm not super happy about. It's this weird double-edged sword where, like, if you start really, really early, yeah, you have to go to bed earlier, which for me sucks, because that means I have to go to bed at like 7 or 8, and I hate that. But it also means I get off the clock at 1 p.m., like right as the store is really starting to get busy, and I have the whole fucking like day left still, kind of, you know? So if I have one day off, you know, I get to work at 4 a.m., I'm finally off the clock at 1 p.m., and then I'll stay up until like fucking midnight, you know? Just do fucking stupid shit like that. I do it all the time. So anyway, working those 4 a.m. freight shifts means I know when we get consoles in, because I'm literally in charge of printing out our manifest and seeing, you know, what officially we got in our papers, and literally handling the boxes and everything, opening them up and putting the security tags and everything on them, right? I put hands on all of the stuff that comes through the store, you know, and I don't steal anything. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that just bonkers that, you know, somebody could just not steal stuff? But anyway, right, so if I'm like, well, we got Xboxes in. You know, it's still hard to find the consoles, and even then it was still hard. It's just flat out always been hard. The most we've ever gotten was back in the spring, and every other time it's been pretty damn hard to find them. So I say if you find them in the wild, go for it. Don't buy from a scalper. Just fucking find them in a store somewhere. So we open at 6, therefore I can take my first break at 6, you know, the moment we open, and I can just fucking buy one if, you know, there aren't 11,000 scalpers in there to buy all the ones before me. So I bought it, and I was giddy like a child. I had a stupid shit-eating grin on my face, and I was really, 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 really happy to get it, the Series X. Upgrading from a regular 2014 model Xbox One to a Series X was fucking massive, alright? The fucking base Xbox One was not all that powerful when it came out regardless, right? To me, it was practically just a more powerful Xbox 360. But now the Series X, that thing is a fucking powerhouse. It's that big black bazooka of just fucking fuck you video gaming power. It is, at this point in time, the most powerful console that's ever existed. And that's fucking magical. And it's really fucking cool running all my stuff at 60 frames, sometimes even more than 60 frames. Reminds me I've got to add another thing to my fucking notes here. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I got my Xbox Series X, and I really like it. I'm really happy to have it. And it meant I could move my old Xbox out of the basement and somewhere else. It's now up in my room, and it's nice to watch YouTube on. So, really happy with my Series X, and I do use it quite a bit, actually. It goes in phases, just like my Xbox One did before. Sometimes, you know, I'm just much more in the mood of using it, and it's just fun to just boot stuff up on it, you know? So I like my Series X. It's really fast. It's really powerful. All of that fun stuff. It's just it's a joy to have in my entertainment arsenal here down in the Luminary man cave. So you can tell I'm talking pretty quickly, but I'm also like, there's a little bit of energy missing because I'm kind of tired, and now I have this like weird pain in like the back left area of my head. But anyway, now we're in February. Now, I think it was either in late December or in early January, I started getting into Hades, which I was like a couple months late to. Everybody else got into it like the month before I got into it. But yeah, Hades is a cool fucking game. And I have it slated for February because that's when I had my first successful escape. Now, I don't think this is really a spoiler, so don't worry about averting your ears. Now, anybody could tell you that's played the game that simply getting one successful escape is not the end of the game. I know that. Okay. It's a pretty big, there's, pretty big plot development when you do get a first successful escape, and it's great. I really like that just by itself. I know that I need to do more to officially end the game, and not even in like a, super true ending, you got to do all the shit kind of ending, but like a serious, like, you have completed the story and, there's other stuff to do, but here's like where we would consider the game over. I know that. But I have shelved it for the time being because I just have other stuff to do. So I've put about, I think, 30 hours into Hades. It's a fun game. I really enjoy it. I think it's cool. There's a lot of things to talk about, but just one thing that springs to mind. I like that for a roguelite, you get to pick which room you go into, and you can basically say ahead of time what reward you want. It's very empowering to the player to show them what each room will give them when they finish it, so they can actually plan things out better. And if they need health, they can go choose a health room, or they won't get screwed over by a room that gives them something they don't want or care about at the time. So it's super cool, and I really love the fact that everybody back at the House of Hades has something new to say every fucking time you come back. Every time. It blows my mind. It feels like a roguelite made with a AAA level of, like, effort and focus given to it. And some of you may scoff at that and say, well, actually, that's not a AAA thing, but shut up, you know what I mean. When I mean AAA, you know what I mean. So, Hades is really cool. Next up in February of last year, my parents and I, got a dog. That's right. I don't really know how to describe him. His name is Gibson, but we all just call him Gibby because it's very funny to call him Gibby. He's pretty small. He's not tiny, but he is just pretty small, and I really don't know how to describe dogs well. He's like a mix of like a bunch of different breeds. He kind of looks like a terrier. I don't know how to describe it. I post pictures of him from time to time in direct feeds, so there's that. If you enter my server and just search for Gibby posting, you'll find pictures and video of Gibby. But yeah, he's a funny guy. He was just a baby when we got him. He was maybe only 4 or 5 months old. He was fucking tiny. I was like in shock how tiny he was once he was home, and he was like on the kitchen floor, like eating or drinking from a bowl. Like the day we brought him home, he was so fucking tiny. I couldn't even handle like how tiny of a creature he was. But now he's obviously a bit bigger, and it's cool. He's generally very chill. Sometimes he just stands on the couch and barks out the window because he just can, and that I find that frustrating, but it is what it is. He's always happy to see me when I come home. I live close enough to the store that I work at that I have a 1 hour lunch, and I actually have time to drive home for 10 minutes, sit at home for 35 minutes, and just, fucking do whatever, have food and lay in bed and watch YouTube for like 20 minutes and then get up and drive back to work. It's really nice, actually. I really like it. And he's always happy to see me when I come home, whether it's from lunch or for lunch or because the shift's over. So he's a funny guy. He doesn't really like cuddling, which makes me sad, but he's funny in that, like, he has a kill mode and then he has like a chill mode. And if he's in kill mode, if he's chewing on something, he will absolutely refute any kind of effort to pick him up or pet him or anything. He will immediately try and start teething on your hand instead of letting you pet him. But if you manage to pick him up, even if he's in kill mode, once he's up in your arms, he just totally chills out completely. Just like a switch. He's just like, okay, I guess this is a thing we're doing, so I'm just gonna shut up and just sit here for a while, and whatever. It's funny. It's really funny to me. But at other times, you could just be sitting somewhere, and jump up and try and paw at your leg or whatever, and he'll grab a chew toy and walk over and push it into your hand and say, hey, do something with this or whatever. he might just walk over and then just lay on his back, and because he knows you're gonna give him a good old gut rub, you know. He's a funny little guy, and his name is Gibby, and I think it's a very funny name for a dog. So there's that. Now, last thing for February. It's already been almost an hour. I'm just staring down the list, and as long as I keep going, it'll be over eventually. And I'll have compressed all this. For a long time, I thought I would have had to record like a 4-hour podcast or something, or maybe stitch them together, or maybe, do a multi-part process. But I really just want it to just be one, just through it all, So, February 2020, the last thing in February 2021 was I bought a PS5. That's right, your boy is packing both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. I know you're jealous. I know. That's right. It's fucking crazy, I know. Same deal, I work at a store that occasionally gets the consoles in, so if I wanted one and boom, I have both now. And they're so fucking powerful. I really don't care about any kind of mid-grade things that they'll put out. And basically, the way I see it, I'm set for another fucking 6 years for both of those consoles, right? It's fucking crazy. So yeah, video games and dabbing on motherfuckers, right? So I will admit I wasn't quite as giddy when I got my PS5. I was happy. I was very happy, but I also didn't really know what I wanted to do with it when I got it. I just knew that there would be exclusives that I still wanted to play, like the Demon's Souls remake. Yeah, So I bought a PS5 and I'm very happy with it. I don't really have any complaints when I think about it. I think it looks kind of fucking ugly. I'm going to be really honest. I think it looks kind of ugly, especially compared to the Series X, where the Series X is very just Spartan and just basic, and it's just big brick design. But I don't really know what a better design for the PS5 would have been, but it looks like a fucking... The Series X looks like a fridge, and the PS5 looks like a router. So, make of it what you will. Make of it what you will, right? So with the PS5, it is... Let's see if I'm able to fuck around on my gacha game while I'm thinking about this. But the PS5 can play pretty much every PS4 game with like 7 exceptions or something. There's a very, very short list. There are exceptions, but it's a very, very short list. So with that, I packed up my PS4. I fucking put it back in its box with its controller, and I said, hey, thanks for your service. All I ever did on it was fucking play Death Stranding, and yeah, I have absolutely no regrets about it either. So now my PS4 is just fucking chilling in hibernation, just hanging out, and it's pretty cool in my opinion. So yeah, I've got a PS5 and I've got a Xbox Series X, and I'm really happy with both of them. I'm very, very happy that I have both, because now nothing will stop me from playing anything except for the fact that I still don't have a Switch, because I'm still waiting for a more powerful Switch to exist that will run the games better and hopefully at higher resolutions. There was a momentary thought to get a OLED Switch. We do carry them at my store, but it's not enough. Hopefully when they make the more powerful Switch, it'll still be an OLED screen. I doubt it, but yeah. Anyway, I wasn't giddy with laughter when I got my PS5, but I was very happy regardless. I also eventually helped a couple friends get them as well, and it took a couple months later for each of them, a couple months later for them, and a couple months later for the other one, but I was very happy, because it's kind of a complicated system. I can't just tell them if we get them. It has to be a clandestine... No, it's not a clandestine operation. It's just like there's some rules to follow. So, and I'm a good old rule follower. So, yeah. But I got my consoles, and I was able to help two friends get a PS5 each, and one of them even wants a Series X, which are even harder to find at my store. So good fucking luck, but I'm keeping an eye out, you know? So, March 2021, let's see, I did look over to make sure that I had unpaused from pausing recording at some point. March, I played Dragon Ball Xenoverse. Also, before then, I should mention, I guess I just forgot to fucking put it on there somewhere, but I, for no reason at all, I randomly had the inclination to finally buy and play Dragon Ball FighterZ, or FighterZ, whatever you want to call it. I believe in FighterZ. I just clarified it in case you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So, again, I don't know why, but I randomly had the inclination, and I found like a bundle was like the game and both fighter passes for like $30. And I was like, fuck it, let's go with it. So I bought it for myself, I bought it for a friend, and I bought it for myself, I bought it for a friend, and then another friend wanted to get it, so he bought the base game and I bought the DLC for him. And the three of us just played it and had a fucking blast. It's a really fun game to just play. Being a traditional, you know, pretty serious fighting game, you know, you can just fuck around and do all sorts of stuff. And it sparked this whole renaissance of loving Dragon Ball in me. So, I'm going to bundle these two together. In March, I played Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 and 2 from scratch and fucking played through them and everything. Here's my short review, okay? Xenoverse 1 and 2 are great ideas for games, but I'm just not a really big fan of the gameplay, the core like combat of the Xenoverse games. So I'm a Budokai Tenkaichi 3 enjoyer. I fucking love the shit out of the game. I played the fucking crap out of it as a kid growing up on my PS2, and I still have my copy, of course. But I don't even know why it's bad. Clearly they play differently. And that's the word I should have used. Xenoverse 1 and 2's gameplay just isn't quite up to snuff for me, at least. So I like some of the stuff they've got going on. I like that you can like learn all the moves, you know, with your custom character, and there's this massively playable roster, and they're like still adding DLC characters to Xenoverse 2 and keeping up with Super and the Super Broly movie and all that shit. It's pretty crazy, and I appreciate that. And I like that Xenoverse 2 has like a pseudo MMO kind of thing going on with like all these events and updates and people walking around and all sorts of stuff. So that's cool. I appreciate them as games, but the gameplay just doesn't really do it for me. And I feel like a fucking idiot because I bought the games with the DLC, and as soon as I finished the base game for each, I was like, okay, bye. You know, I don't want to fucking play this anymore. So I own the DLC, and at this moment, I do not plan to play the DLC for them. So, sorry, Rip Bozo, as they say. Last thing for March, technically it was sandwiched between Xenoverse 1 and 2, but anyway, was the second part of the Doom Eternal DLC, the Ancient Gods Part 2. It was really good, but in between the time of the two DLCs, they went back and patched the first DLC to be a bit easier, and a lot of people were mad because they were like, well, it was really, really fun while it was really, really hard. And at this point, they patched it back to the original DLC, so the original experience is still there. But at the time, they had patched it to be easier, and people were like, what the fuck? Part 2 was quite a bit easier from the first part, mostly because they gave you a new weapon that added to the dance quite a bit. It was overpowered, I will fully admit, but it made it really fun. And I think Part 1 was built around advancing the dance, the sandbox, you know, to like further develop and push it to be even further and more insane. And I think Part 2 is purely just to nail in the power fantasy of it all, because they certainly gave you what you needed to just fucking mop the floor with people. So it was really good. the final boss of the DLC kind of sucks. A lot of people say he's bad because he's hard. He's not even really hard. I don't know where the idea that he's hard came from. It's just red light, green light. But I think just the way the gameplay played out wasn't super amazing. The end of the final boss of the first DLC was fucking hard for all the right reasons, and two's wasn't even hard in my shitty opinion. So that's that. Moving on to April here. Let's take another swig of dew, shall we? And 3 extended swigs. You've heard them all here live on the podcast. That can is empty, boys. I needed this, okay? April, I got a new phone because I was tired of playing my stupid Fist of North Star gacha game at level 1 out of 5 graphics. But also, I wanted more space for it, and I just want it to be faster, so if I wanted to play other games, I would be able to. So, my old phone was, I think, a Galaxy Edge S7, S6 maybe. It was like a 2013 phone or whatever. I want to say, it was way better than the phone I had before it. It randomly, my mom had a couple old phones lying around, and for whatever reason, that Edge was still perfectly good. Part of its screen was a little cracked, but other than that, it was fucking mind-blowingly way better than the phone that I had before. So it was like a genuine, like real, like high-grade smartphone. Even if it was from 7 years ago at the time, it was still a really good phone. However, having worked there, having worked at the store, I got money. We've got to have money, as you do. And so that money enabled me to buy an Xbox, buy a PlayStation, not really feel bad about either. But most importantly, I think I already said it, I bought a new phone. And what phone did I get? Did I switch to iPhone? No, I fucking didn't. Fuck you. I bought a Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra with a 512 gigabyte storage drive. I don't know if it's a hard drive, but just 512 gigs of storage space. That's right. Now the Ultra's main appeal is that it's the biggest one physically, and also it has like a couple more lenses, so it has all this fun extra camera stuff. I didn't care about that. I just wanted a top of the line, like just came out new phone that had as much storage space as I could get. And the smaller models capped out at 256, and I said, fuck that, I'm going for the big boy, and I'm fucking, dropping all the dosh on the Ultra with 512 gigs. And this thing is so fucking good. This phone, I haven't really I haven't said enough about it in the year since I've gotten it, but like the first week it really blew me away. But God, when I really think about it, this phone is fucking amazing. This phone is my lifeline, because shit, I do so much on it. I browse so much Twitter, I browse so much Reddit. I do so much on this goddamn thing. If I'm not sitting at my computer, this phone lets me do pretty much everything else anyway. So it's fantastic. It's really smooth. It has a super awesome looking screen. Because it has so much storage space, I literally just right-clicked copy on my music folder on my fucking computer and just pasted it right onto my phone. So I didn't even have to worry about what albums do I want to put on my phone. It's just fucking just everything. Even stuff I haven't listened to in years, right? Just all of it is on my phone. I've got it always on me, and it's fucking magical having this much power in my hand, just ready to fucking go. And I can play Fist of North Star Legends Revive at level 5 graphics and get, and pull over 60 frames per second, which is great. Another thing that lets me nerd out and really enjoy this phone is it has a really, really smart display where I think it's like a 120 hertz display, but it also has a smart feature that you can turn on and off, but I left it on because it just makes a lot of sense, and that's that it will switch down to 60 hertz unless something is actively moving on it. So it's just a small little battery optimization so that, if stuff is moving, if you're scrolling a web page, then yeah, of course it's going to be 120 hertz. But if it's just a still image, we'll snap that bitch back down to 60 for you. So, you just don't burn your battery quite as much. And it's great. This phone is fucking fantastic. I love and adore this phone. So that's right. The Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, 512 gigs. It goes for quite a chunk of change, but I've used this thing a fuckload, right? Working at electronics has really opened my eyes because a lot of people just stroll in and they're like, yeah, I need a cable to charge my phone. And then we're like, yeah, we have cables here for $20. And people are like, what the, maybe you are being like, what the fuck, why would I spend $20 to charge my fucking phone? Ugh. But think about it. Think about how much you use your phone for. Someone like me, I use it fucking every day for at least like 2 hours. Every fucking day. I promise. And it runs everything fantastically. I've never had any issues with anything not running properly on it. It's just a powerhouse. It does everything I need and more, and way, way more. I love it. It's fantastic. And for another reason, relatively close to the podcast image, right now it's the only thing I have with all of my music on there. So in many ways, for a little while now, it's very important that I keep this thing alive, because good God, it's not so much that I need to be able to listen to it, but just like if I have, let me open up here. I don't know if I've got a way to, okay, I have 594 albums on my phone, okay, from 187 artists. There is no way I will ever be able to remember from memory every one of those albums, right? So if I woke up one day and 20 albums were missing, I would never fucking know. And that's a fucking problem, I need to add a couple more things here. Because I just keep remembering like little details to add to things. So this phone's great. I probably wax lyrical about it too much, but you work a job, you save up your money, and then you spend it on what you want. And why the hell shouldn't you gloat about it? That's my stance. It's one thing to be like from a rich family, which I'm not. I'm not being like, well, here's why I don't talk so much about other stuff. That's not it at all. We're like middle class. But my point is, a lot of the time people gloat about possessions because they're rich assholes or they're celebrities, and it doesn't really fucking matter. But for people like me that are just normal people that, they just go work a job, they save their money, and then they buy something they really want, boom, it's satisfying and it's enjoyable, right? So that's all I have to say about that. Next up, in April, I finished Gran Turismo 3. I guess I should mention, I got Gran Turismo 3 as a brand new copy for the PS2 in Christmas of 2019, and I kind of played it over the few months after that. I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, listen to me just plonking away because I just can't stop fucking thinking about stuff that I want to add to these notes. But I didn't do every race in it because at some point, even though I got genuinely the greatest cars in the game, because at the fucking end of the progression in that game, you can get a couple F1 cars, which, obviously would just go on to fucking demolish everything around them. It's not enough still to make it just super easy to win everything. And that's not a problem. That's not a complaint about the game. It's a complaint about me and how I like games, right? In Gran Turismo 2, eventually you can get enough money where every car you enter into a race, you can make sure is super, obliteratory, so that, as long as you're using your brain while you're racing, you're going to win pretty much every time. And I like that. I still have to use my brain to do it. I can't just, hold down the acceleration button and walk away for 4 minutes, but I just like having that power, right? And so even though I was at the end of the progression, right? I still had quite a few races left to go, and I just wasn't getting any satisfaction out of it because I really had to bust my ass to beat these races, even though I was bringing in cars that should fucking demolish my opponents, right? I don't know if it's a matter of just me just not being good enough at racing games or something, but I was kind of put off by it. So I was unable to 100% it, but I did do quite a bit of it, probably 85% maybe. And I unlocked the credits, and as far as I'm concerned, if speedrun rules are to see the credits and that's finishing a game, then you know what? Why shouldn't it be for me? So that was Gran Turismo 3. Also in April, I finally played through the Assassin's Creed Odyssey DLC. That's right, I treated it as a separate thing instead of just going straight into it. And it was pretty good. I don't remember a whole lot of it. I liked how each of the areas was rendered. I had a lot of, wow, pretty graphics moments while playing, which is great. I welcome those wholeheartedly. And I 100%ed them and everything. So then I had to, say goodbye to Cassandra once again. And when it was all said and done, I've clocked 222 hours in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Which is fucking bonkers. And I got all the achievements and everything, so I can be like, oh, I'm a fucking cool guy. Ooh, fucking look at me. Ooh. I took a quick 2-minute intermission to attempt to pull a character on Fist and Star Legends Revive. My last chance to pull him because I'm completely out of gems, and I was unsuccessful. So now, if you'll excuse me, the rest of this podcast will just be drowning in sadness and sorrow. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, cool game, finished it. However, never mind. We'll get there when we get there. Also in April, I finally played the Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War campaign, and I gotta be honest, it sucked. Okay, they had some cool ideas, but they just didn't really get fleshed out enough. And also, for whatever fucking reason, they let you pick a side at the end of the game. And if you pick the quote-unquote evil side, it completely resolves everything by the end. But if you pick the good side, like the canonical side, the side that you would expect to pick, you don't even fucking wrap up the story of that game. You simply stop the antagonist from doing their plan, but you don't even meet them or kill them or anything. It's simply this guy's gonna do this thing, we gotta stop it. So you go there and you stop it, but then you don't. That's the end of the game. There's no now we gotta go after the guy. No, none of that. What the fuck? Am I supposed to be satisfied by the ending or not? Clearly not, right? Fucking, it was annoying as hell. I really wasn't a fan. It's not awful all the way through. It just, there's parts of it that just were not fleshed out enough, and it's all right playing through it. But when I look back upon the total experience and especially that ending, it's just fucking. It's just gross. It's just it's not even politically incorrect or anything. It's just it was poorly done. Just flat out poorly done. Poorly written and poorly done. So Black Ops Cold War, officially a bad Call of Duty campaign. I'm throwing it out there. And this sounds like hyperbole, but when I really, really think about it, I feel like Cold War is the only Call of Duty campaign where I came out the other side not really glad to have played it. Maybe World War II. World War II's campaign kind of sucked. But all I remember about World War II's campaign is that it had some missteps along the way, and that the gameplay wasn't as great as the simplicity of even Call of Duty 2. But I don't remember hating the campaign overall, so I don't know. I don't remember much about it. And perhaps that's even worse. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I haven't talked about before that to be mediocre and to just be average is worse than to be terrible, because if you're terrible, then at least people can laugh at you and your mistakes are obvious. But if you're mediocre, where there's nothing really amazing to mention about you or really horrible, then it's hard to figure out what's wrong. And nobody's probably going to pay attention to you, because if you just make an okay thing, then it's like, yeah, well, I mean, it's a thing, I guess, but I don't really hate it and I don't really love it, so it doesn't leave an impression on people. So who knows? Maybe World War II is really the bad one. Who knows? Ooh. Moving along, in May, I picked up a 50-inch Samsung Q60T QLED 4K Ultra HD TV. Let's go. It was obvious, frankly, to get a 4K TV. I had been working with a 43-inch 1080p TV. I think it's Insignia, for the past few years, and now I simply wanted a 4K TV, and the best we had at the time is, the Samsung QLED TVs. So, the smallest we had, well, we had one that was 32 inches, but I wasn't going to go smaller, right? I wanted, so there's nothing too snazzy about it. It's 4K, which is nice, and it's QLED, which is nice, but it's not 120 hertz. That's what I would have really wanted. It's just a 60 hertz TV. But here's my dilemma. We had the 50-inch QLED TV, and I think that was the last one we had left. So our store was doing a thing that, like, I got a fucking wicked deal on this bad boy, because I ultimately got 20% off, 10% off, and 10% off it, which is disgusting. I got 10% off from employee discount, 10% off from senior discount day. So I brought my dad with me because I live with him, so I could take advantage of the senior discount. He's not ancient. I think my parents are in their very early 60s. I'm 25, so, whatever at this point. And then also they were doing a thing where employees could get 20% off all of the last year's Samsung models because they wanted to clear them out. So it's technically a 2020 TV, but regardless, I got it for fucking 40% off, and it was fucking wicked deal, and I love it. It's amazing. Since it's QLED, it's super bright, and it's super vibrant with its colors and everything, and it's fucking awesome. I'm really glad I made the jump to 4K because everything looks so fucking good, and I really wanted to get a 4K TV because the Series X and the PS5 are 4K machines, So as much as PC gamers want to be like, oh, well, I can run 4K, it's like, well, do you? And how well can you run 4K, That's really what I've fired back with, right? And it's not like I care to so let's set the groundwork, right? No console will ever be stronger than any PC. Well, not any PC, what I mean. No, there will never be a console that is stronger than every PC that is out at the time, right? Because PCs can always change, and you can just always literally just stack more shit in a PC to make it more powerful. But these fucking consoles, man, they're pretty goddamn powerful, I gotta tell ya. And they're definitely both stronger than my PC at this point. So it's a fun little battle to pick and choose when I want to play what on what platform. So that's fine. Anyway, more TV woes. That's right. Well, not really woes, but I wanted to get a 120 hertz TV just because it would be so smooth and nice and amazing and blah 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 blah. And I looked at the Samsung website. Now they have Q70 TVs that are QLED and 120 hertz, but the problem was the smallest they make was 55 inch, and worse yet, we carried Q70, but only 65 and 75 inch. So I wouldn't even be able to get a 55-inch TV. And that, now having had this TV's already slightly too big for my setup. So it goes over its counter a bit, and we had to put a couple books in for it to stand on for that. So probably couldn't have made a 55-inch TV work. We do have the 55-inch Q70 at this point, and that's cool. But yeah. On the topic of TVs, recently, like a month or two ago, I had my mind blown by I think it was the LG C1 or something like that. It's this TV, it's this 4K TV that's like OLED, and it has 120 hertz, and it has this and that, and it has this. And basically, like, when you're on your Xbox and you're hooked up to your display, it's like there's like 8 different check boxes. Like, this TV can do 4K, this TV can do 120 hertz, this can do this. This has like, colors like this, blah, blah, blah. And my TV can do like 4 or 5 of the things, and the LG can do all 8 of them. So if I bought a TV now, it would have been one of those bad boys. But the reason I got the TV that I got was because we had it, and I got a fucking insane deal on it. So I'm not really that mad about it. And I really enjoy my TV. So it's nice. And of course I can hook my computer up to it, and I find that I can run a lot of things in 4K on it, which is fucking dope. So that's that, right? It just makes the console experience even better with my little chair set up in front of my TV, and I can plonk down and play on my PlayStation or play on my Xbox, or, hook up my computer to it and fucking play on a controller, right? I'm using the controller that came with the Xbox and PlayStation respectively, but I also bought an extra red Xbox controller, and I use that with my computer right now. And the white controller that's still good is currently assigned to my base Xbox One that is upstairs alongside my old 43-inch 1080p TV. So now it's really fun to pass out watching YouTube on a giant screen like that instead of on my phone or on my laptop. I haven't brought my laptop up to my room in quite some fucking time, even though I used to all the time. So it's pretty funny. That's the TV story. So next up, in May, I also finished playing Returnal. That's right, a PlayStation 5 exclusive, the third-person shooting roguelite game Returnal. And it's a really good game. I hope it can come to other platforms. I doubt it, because there literally is a PS5 in it at one point, like canonically, which was really weird. But yeah, it's a really good game. And if you like third-person shooters, if you like roguelike games, I'd highly recommend checking it out. It looks beautiful, especially I got my 4K TV in the middle of playing it, so I got to jump to 4K and then look at it and be like, holy shit, this game's fucking crazy. So yeah, for a while that was the only thing I really had used my PS5 for, was Returnal. And it's a fucking great game. It's a fucking great game. And the graphics are really good. The gameplay is really, really good and engaging. And the story is really interesting, how it kind of slowly unveils everything as you go. And it was the kind of game, well, just the kind of experience, because this has happened with me for anime before, where I finish it and I think about it and I'm like, God, I don't really know. And then I look stuff up, and then within like 5 minutes, it all clicks, and I'm like, oh my God. So, yeah, fucking crazy game. Really fucking cool. And, it's just really good. It's also the kind of thing that, like, puts shit, like, right in your face early on, and you don't even know that it's important. And you could only figure out that it's important after having played all the way through it, and then also going back and getting the true extra, like, extended ending, and then being like, oh my God. So it's really cool. I really like it. And I hate the fact that since it's an exclusive, it's not going to get as much traction as it should, because it was really, really cool. And I really don't know how else to describe it other than, like, it was a really, really good game. And there's nothing I can really say to further elaborate upon it other than it's a fun, engaging third-person action roguelite shooter game with a really crazy story and just some really fucking awesome graphics. And shout out to the PS5 DualSense controller for giving it this weird alt-fire where if you know anything, where was I going with that? If you looked into the PS5 at all, you've heard of how the DualSense controller has all this cool new stuff in it. It has cool new stuff in it now, including these weird adjustable triggers that, like, developers can fuck with to physically like resist the player in certain ways. So in Returnal, you fire with the right trigger, but also when you're aiming, you have the left trigger, and when you push it down, it stops about halfway through, and then you have to push even harder to then go past that, and that's what readies your alt fire, because every weapon has an alt fire attachment on it. So you can, lightly hold it to, it's not even really lightly, that makes it sound bad, but it's like a normal grip, and then you just kind of like click it in extra hard to, release your alt fire, and then you kind of let off a bit, and then you go back to shooting it normally. So it's pretty cool, and it has a dash and a melee, and it's cool. I haven't played it since I beat it, which is now almost a year ago, but it was really cool. It was a really cool game. I'm really glad I played it. It's just flat out an experience I'm glad I've had, and I'm like that in the future. This is just kind of my universal experience with things, right? It's a game that I'm glad to have experienced, and I'm happy that in the future when I see people talk about Returnal, I can, converse with them and also drift back to when I played it and just the experience that I had with it, So, great game. Returnal, good game. If you get a PS5, play it for sure. In June, I finally wrapped up. I think it took the entirety of the month of June. I don't remember when it came out, maybe late May, early June. I wrapped up the entirety of the NieR Replicant remake / remaster weird thing. And now is not the time for me to talk about NieR in general. Automata is one of my 2 top favorite games of all time. It's a tie between NieR Automata and Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. For very different reasons for both games, but they're both, I think, the best video games I have ever played and experienced, and also most powerfully and most, I don't know what else I want to say, most powerfully and just best use video games as a medium to be a thing for telling a story, and I really appreciate that about those two. The original NieR, I really liked. I played it a few months after Automata because I wanted to, and I still have a 360 copy, and it recently became backward compatible, so I can play it in 60 FPS on my fucking Series X. Shout out to Microsoft for fucking having my back all this time, and fucking putting out bangers all the time. But I will say, I didn't like Replicant as much as the original in the grand scheme of things, only because playing as young brother NieR instead of Papa NieR, I like Papa NieR more. I just like his vocal performance a lot. The game's almost the same, otherwise, but in the original release, and now obviously it's in the remake, they put out a small DLC to play a few dungeons, essentially, for combat stuff. And when you go in there, you go to the other version of whatever NieR that you weren't playing as. So, in the original NieR, you'd switch from, and there were both brother and Papa NieR versions of the original NieR. It's really complicated. I don't want to get into it, but those were things that existed. So, in the West, we got the Papa NieR version, and so in the DLC, you play as the brother, right? So then in the remake, you're playing as the brother, and when you go into the DLC, you suddenly turn into Papa NieR, and he even has a few voice lines. And I felt, I don't even know how to describe this other than saying I felt something in my heart when I saw Papa NieR walk out and he had a few things to say. Because I wouldn't even put NieR on the same pedestal as NieR Automata. Like, I liked it a lot, but I think it's more of the characters that I care about than the story or the game or whatever. And so Papa NieR, oh my god, I was so happy to see him and hear him again. Oh my god. So that was powerful, but then he didn't have anything else to say the rest of the little DLC thing, and I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. So, genuinely, I guess I gotta say I like the original NieR more because it has Papa NieR. So, in the future, I might probably just play the original NieR again instead of the remake, which I really hate saying, but I that's what I feel. They did add a new thing to the remake. I won't say what it was. Well, I guess I I don't know how I can really explain it. But anyway, essentially, they added a new thing to the remake, but I was really happy when I experienced it and saw it. But then when I was like looking up other people's thoughts on it, it was something that already existed, and I don't know how to really explain it. But basically, just like any Turbo NieR fans would have already known about the thing. So it's a new thing that wasn't in the original game, but it's not new content because it already existed elsewhere. So it was kind of sad because I was like, oh my god, people are gonna fucking lose their minds when they see this shit. And then it's like, yeah, well, we already knew about that like 8 years ago. And I'm like, oh god, what do you mean? Oh my god, I don't know anything. So yeah, technically the remake has that over it, but I think I just like the original NieR more. But I did go for 100% achievements in NieR Replicant, and I not only went for it, I actually did it, which involved a lot, and I mean a fucking lot, of weapon grinding. Like, good god. I don't have Steam open, but I'm gonna go to the fucking... Actually, I'll fire it up on my phone, because I don't know how many hours it was. I think it was like roughly about 100 hours total in a game. It takes maybe 30 hours to play, like all the way through. I don't even fucking know, man. Let's sort by playtime. How bad could it be? 100 hours clean. 100 hours in fucking NieR Replicant. That's crazy, dude. Yeah. So it was a lot of weapon grinding, and I many times in the middle of it, I was like, man, this really fucking sucks, and I can't wait to be done with it so that I can, in the future, just gloat to people and be like, nobody has done this thing, Yeah, fucking XD. Man, I can't wait to wrap this all up and go to bed at this point. You know what? I should point out the reason I'm able to do this right now is because this is my second of 4 days off that I have right now, and it's pretty fucking cool. Well, I guess right now today at 4:42 a.m. This is technically the third day off in a row, but you know what I mean. And so, having this much amount of time off, which I didn't even ask for, I just, I kind of nudged my boss and said, hey, give me some time to, recuperate my brain or whatever. It's nice. It's very, very nice. I like having time that I can just sit around and just do whatever the fuck I want to do. Play some video games, watch some YouTube, yada, yada, yada. It's just nice. This is what I live for. And I had chills coming up as I was originally going to say that. And maybe somebody will say, well, really? But yes, really. Because I derive so much joy and just interesting experiences from spending time traipsing through the internet, reading up people's opinions on things, seeing people rationalize other things, and whatever wacky happenings happen on Twitter, and just people impassionately... I don't know if impassioned and passionately can be combined like that, but just people passionately, defending or criticizing things and, trying not to get lost up in that maelstrom, So, that's cool. Anyway, July was, this doesn't really have much to say, but it's the anniversary of shit being fucked, as I, wrote it down in my notes and continue to have it on the absolute state update, which I don't see any value in listing the numbers off, especially not this late into the program. It's still a lot. Let's leave it that simple, right? There haven't been any major changes. The number just grows every month. That's just what happens. But also in July, I finished rewatching Metalocalypse with a buddy, and it's a great show. I found a lot more depth to it this time than when I watched it back in like 2016 or whatever. And it's super cool. I like it a lot. And the Doomstar Requiem is still fucking awesome. I was going to say recently, but it was more like 5 or 6 months ago now. they announced, Adult Swim announced they'd finally be making more Metalocalypse in the form of a movie. So I'm very excited to see what comes of that, whether it's a traditional movie or if it's a musical movie. I really won't mind. I fucking love the Doomstar Requiem. I think it's the best part of the show. So who knows? Anyway, August had a couple really emotional things, okay? The first one being Rebuild of Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0. It came out on Amazon Prime finally, and it was with the old dub cast for the most part. They changed a few people, and they redubbed the other 3 Rebuild movies for some reason, and then dubbed, the new one at the time and everything. But whatever. It was with the old cast primarily. It wasn't with the fucking Netflix cast. It was with the old cast, and it was something I was stressed out about for like 2 weeks before it came out. But yes, it was with the old cast, and it was fucking awesome. So I set the time aside on a day, and I actually fucking watched all 4 of the movies back to back. And it was fucking crazy. I went so far as to get a Amazon Prime trial. I would have just bought it. I wish I could buy it digitally. I really want to own that movie digitally. I would have given Jeff Bezos like $10 and been like, yes, let me own the movie digitally, but he wouldn't let me, so he just let me watch it for free, I guess. And I watched the fucking rebuilds back to back to back, and it was fucking crazy. It's so much time. It's like fucking 8 hours, maybe even 8.5, 9 hours maybe. And it was super hot outside during August, and I even went to the length of bringing my old TV back down because they're in 1080p, and if you are a resolution connoisseur, you will know that because of digital television, if something is outputting at anything lower than the native resolution of your TV, it's still going to look pretty bad because your TV has to fill in those gaps, and that leads to a lot of just like glow and like not blur, but just a lot of just like it really fucks with the lighting and coloring of things because it has to throw in all these extra shades and extra pixels. So watching them on a slightly smaller but 1080p TV was fucking great because they looked fucking phenomenal. Like 1 and 2 are pretty good movies. 3 is there's so much going on in there, and 4 is just a fucking smorgasbord of animation. Like it's so fucking beautiful, just front to back all the time. Like the backgrounds, the character animation, it's all so fucking good. It's wonderful. I really want those movies on 4K Blu-ray. I really fucking do. And I adore them. And going into the 4th Rebuild movie, the question on everybody's mind was, well, 1 and 2 people generally like, but 3 was really rocky for a lot of people. Is 4 going to suddenly redeem the rebuilds? And my answer is yes. So, having watched them, I feel bad because I'm probably going to talk more about this first part in August than the second part, but it's just how the cookie crumbles. I haven't watched the rebuilds since I first got into Ava in 2014, and I watched Rebuild 3 in like 2017 when it finally came out in home release form with dub or whatever. And I thought 3 was alright. I really enjoyed it because because I didn't know what was going on. And that sounds almost like a non-reason to like something, because it's like, I liked it because I didn't know what was going on. But like, I liked it because it gave me that Evangelion feeling again of just being like, I can tell something's fucking happening, but I've got no idea, and that's really interesting to me, kind of. But having rewatched all the Rebuild movies for the 4th one, 3 is actually really, really good. I'm gonna be honest. It's a really fucking good movie. And having 4 now to follow it up makes it a lot easier to deal with because it kind of ended on a cliffhanger before. But I would just say 3 is a good movie. I don't care if people at the time didn't like how it turned out, because I do. I like 3 now. And 4 is absolutely the best one. We're just leaving those in because I get really phlegmy for some reason. However, I will pause for this one here. I get really phlegmy sometimes for some reason, but here, hold on once again here. Okay. Staring the rest of this down, I think I might have to go a little faster, but we'll see if that even happens. So, 4th Rebuild movie, it's fucking fantastic. It suddenly validates the rebuilds as existing, and it says goodbye to the entire franchise in a really good way. And it's so weird because I had such a visceral, emotional connection to it in like the week or two after it followed, and looking at memes about it and other people talking about other substantial scenes. But it somehow, Evangelion's like my favorite thing ever, and I feel at peace, and it's such a weird thing because it's not like Evangelion was left open. We knew that with 3 it was going off the script, and that there would have to be a 4th movie that would wrap things up. So technically that was unresolved, but we didn't know if it was a time loop. We didn't know, all this other stuff that was going on. And I won't answer those questions, but it's so strange. I just feel like I've never seen a franchise so succinctly just like finished, because so many franchises in anything, whether it's anime or video games or books or music or whatever, they always have to have it's like, well, it's great this came out, and I can't wait for the next album from this band, 3 years from now or whatever, right? But just, you watch that movie, and by the end you're like, wow, Evangelion is just over. It's done. There's nothing else to say. We did what we had to do, and Evangelion is complete as a franchise. So you can watch the original show and then end of Evangelion and then stop there, or you can go the extra credit route and watch the rebuild movies, and that's good. However, at the same time, one person pointed out in the discussion around it, I remember, that the 4th movie really hits hard for people like me, or just people who've been fans for even longer, but people who've been fans of Eva and waiting for that conclusion, or just in general, that get into Eva and are just obsessed with it for years, and just every time I see the characters, I light up, and I'm so glad to see them, and I think about this and that and whatever. And you won't really nearly get the same experience if you're a new fan and you watch, all of Eva within like 2 weeks, the show, the movie, and then the other 4 movies within 2 weeks or whatever. It is not the same experience as if you watch the show and the movie and then just watch the rebuilds like years later. But after having spent those years being a fan of Evangelion, and every time you see something Evangelion related, just being like, yeah, yeah, that's awesome, yeah. So it's crazy. I've only seen it twice. I watched it with a friend about a week later, but it's just magical, and I really want a 4K Blu-ray of them, because they just like literally. So it came out. The movie came out in Japan in like December 2019, apparently, or December 2020. Finally, after it got delayed quite a bit, and then it came out in the West in August of 2021, and it's funny, leading up to it, I'm like, yeah, I might watch it like a week later or whatever, but I ended up watching it like the second day it was out, because I was like, I have to know what's going on. I can't get myself spoiled or whatever. So yeah, and right around the time in August or like July, in Japan, they had just released 3.333 on 4K Blu-ray, and it's weird because it's like a further revision of 3.0 that changes even like a few more things, after 4.0 had already come out, or whatever, and that was weird to me. So a 4K, so they have at least once made a 4K Blu-ray of a rebuild of Evangelion movie. So simply that makes my mind think, perhaps at the very least I could get the fourth Rebuild movie in 4K, but I would really love a box set of all four Rebuild movies in 4K with the dub included. Now that makes things a little complicated because there's actually, when they dubbed the fourth Rebuild movie, they went back and redubbed the other three Rebuild movies because Amazon Prime got the rights to distribute it, not Funimation, and Funimation did the previous three dubs. So Amazon Prime hired most of the old actors back, but not all of them. So they had to redub people like Mari, but other than that, it was fine. Some of the dialogue was a little stiff, but that's because of Kara getting their hands into things. It felt really stiff in the first movie, but then after that, it kind of worn off by the time I got to the second and third and fourth or whatever. It's just great to hear those old voice actors again. And the problem is, I would say the original Funimation dubs are probably a lot better. But at this point, what are you going to do? Are you going to watch the Funimation dubs and then have, a few characters just blatantly be different voices and then different voices for the fourth movie or what, right? It would have been cool if we got a fourth dub with the Funimation cast, but it simply didn't happen. So there you go. Yeah. It's just, obviously I can talk this much about it because, like I said, Evangelion's just my fucking top thing ever. So, yeah, dude. So I want a 4K Blu-ray box set of those four movies, and then I can fucking die happy, and also then I can watch them on my fucking 4K QLED TV and be really glad instead of, fucking... I can't believe I went through the effort of swapping my TVs out to fucking do it, because it's such like an extra thing, but it was so worth it because it made the movies look super, super crisp. And I know they wouldn't be quite as pixel perfect on a 4K TV, unfortunately. So I want that 4K Blu-ray box set. I'm not saying it's a thing that exists. As far as I know, it does not exist currently, but I simply want it to be a thing that exists so I can throw like $150 or some shit at it and be like, fuck yeah, fuck you, and get the fuck out of my way, right? Along those same lines, though, however, I think back in August, it was later in August, there was no recording error. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not like I forgot to click back into Notepad and had accidentally overwritten like 10 seconds of podcast. Anyway, it was only 10 seconds. It's not a big deal. Anyway, back late in August, like I had just said and continued back on from, G-Kids finally pulled their power play. They had acquired the rights to distribute the original Neon Genesis Evangelion at the end of 2020. I keep forgetting that last year was 2021 and we're now in 2022. It's really fucking weird because 2020 is the year of the pandemic, right? But 2021 was as well, and now 2022 will be 3. Crazy. But they finally played their hand, and they're like, hey, we're fucking releasing Neon Genesis Evangelion in physical form, for the first time in fucking ages in the West. And I was like, holy shit, now's the time. So they led with a $300 box set of the show, the movies, none of the rebuild stuff. It's all just classic Eva stuff. Some art stuff, blah, 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 blah. I think maybe even the soundtracks. I can't remember. But also they point out that it also includes the Netflix dub and the classic dub, quote unquote. So thank fucking God, my dub of Evangelion, Netflix dub, hashtag not my dub. It's whatever. I don't wish any ill will on Netflix for that or the actors or anything, right? It's simply just not the version that I like, right? And I said, fuck it. I'm feeling as happy and loving of Evangelion as ever. Gimme that. So I ordered one. They were sold out in like a day, so I'm glad I did. It hasn't come in yet. It was originally slated for December, then it got pushed to January, and now it's late January, and I got the most recent email I got was a couple days ago. It's like, yeah, we think in about a week we'll start shipping them out here in America, and I'm like, fuck yeah. So I'm pumped for that. It's $300, but I don't care. It's that's the kind of thing that I would spend top dollar for. Then they, like, right after they announced that, like a week later, they're like, okay, and here's a collector's edition that's just like, you know, a bit fancy stuff, and then like here's just the regular Blu-ray. But they took the classic dub off of the most basic Blu-ray, I think. Maybe even the collector's edition, which kind of sucks, but also maybe they had to pay a lot for it. I really don't know. But yeah, one big flaw, unfortunately, of it is that they didn't get the rights to Fly Me to the Moon. So they don't have that on the ending credits of each episode. And I know that's a significant blow. I know it sucks, but there's really nothing they can do about it, because it would be, if even Netflix didn't pay the money for that, I don't think anybody's gonna fucking pay the money for that shit, right? So it is what it is. It's rather sad, but at least I'll have the show and all that other fun knick-knack stuff. I'm really pumped about that. And that'll be the most fancy, you know, collector's edition of something I've ever owned. And why shouldn't it be for my favorite thing in the world, right? Fuck off. So, the other thing, here's where I air it out, and I'm like, wow, I feel bad that that I'm going to talk about this way less, even though it's a very significant thing as well. My best friend got married in August, and it was cool. I got vaccinated just in time for it, and it was a pretty fun little shindig. I really don't have much to say about it, which I feel really bad about, but it was fun to go to, and it was very emotional, obviously, as you can imagine, and it was just like, I think I went to the wedding like 2 days after I saw the Evangelion movie, and it was such a fucking like visceral, emotional experience, just those 4 or 5 days in between all of that. It was fucking crazy. So yeah, it was crazy time. Absolutely fucking crazy time, dude. I don't even know, man. Life's just fucking crazy. Am I right? So that was August. Moving into September, I finished playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which hooked me early on, and then I did all the fucking side shit, and then I fucking got the big two-handed Excalibur sword and fucking cleaved people and everything, and the Valhalla story was actually pretty good. Like, the core main story of it was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. There was a couple things at the end that I'm like, no, I don't think that's how that works, but regardless, it was pretty alright getting through it. I will say I still have not played the DLC of Valhalla. There was a lot of content in that game, both side content and like extra story stuff you could go do, and I did all the stuff in the base game. But I still haven't played. I think there's the Wrath of the Druids and then the Siege of Paris. But then also, so I own those and I haven't played those yet. But also I own and haven't played yet. This new DLC that came out literally like a fucking month ago, and Ubisoft just fucking dropped it. Like, they were like, they just said, oh, by the way, today we're launching a DLC. They didn't fucking like put out any teaser trailers. They didn't say, oh, we're working on Assassin's Creed stuff. They were just like, well, maybe the players have figured out we're not putting out a new Assassin's Creed game this year, so we're just by the way, now there's a brand new $40 massive expansion for Valhalla. And I was like, what the fuck? But then also, for some reason, they made these crossover missions. So there's now a mission in Assassin's Creed Odyssey where Cassandra meets... What's his name? I can't remember the guy Valhalla's name. I feel bad, but it's been half a year, so give me a break, right? Eivor, that's his name. Meets Eivor. And there's also a mission now in Valhalla where Eivor meets Cassandra. And I don't know why, I don't know canonically how that's supposed to work, but hey, that's a thing. So now when I want to get back into Assassin's Creed, I gotta fucking reinstall all 100 gigs of Odyssey to play one quest, and then very sadly say goodbye once again and close the game, and then, hop on Valhalla. And I do plan to do that at some point. I figured out cleverly almost to make a new category in my games called come back to, which is like, hey, this is at a plenty good place to stop, so just fucking let it go for now, right? That's where Hades is. That's where Assassin's Creed Valhalla is, where I finished the main story but haven't played the DLC yet. Far Cry 5, when I finished the base game and haven't played the DLC yet. Far Cry 6, blah, 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 all this other stuff. A few spoilers there for you. So, yes. That's where fucking AC Valhalla went. Finally... Oh, another thing about AC Valhalla that's cool is, it's I don't know what the rules are for it. It's a weird case-by-case thing, but for at least Assassin's Creed Valhalla, there's actually cross-save, like, platform cross-save, not cross-save platform stuff. So, you can, if you're signed into the same Ubisoft account, if you own the game on multiple platforms for some reason, you can use the same save. So I bought it originally on PC, but then I'm like, well, fuck it. It's on discount. I'm going to buy it on Xbox. So I bought it on Xbox and just fucking played it there using my same save. So that's pretty fucking snazzy as far as I'm concerned. Far Cry 6 came out a bit later, but it doesn't support the same thing. And I was like, okay, but like, why not though? I don't know what would make Assassin's Creed special to do it. They didn't do it for Odyssey, I don't think. So I don't know what the, why specifically Valhalla got it. It'd be like, oh, they're both Ubisoft titles, right? It's like, well, maybe Assassin's Creed gets it because they want to track Assassin's Creed stuff. No, Odyssey didn't get it. Well, maybe it's a Ubisoft thing because maybe Far Cry does it. No, Far Cry doesn't do it. So I don't know. It was weird. The way they phrased it and set up wasn't like it was like a really special one-time thing they were going to do for Valhalla. That doesn't make any sense. They were just like, oh yeah, Valhalla supports blah, 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 blah. Okay, all right, dude. So yeah. Also in September of 2021, I finally finished my playthrough as Vergil of DMC5. I got the Vergil DLC back in December 2020. I would actually just boot it up every now and again and just fuck around in the void for 30 minutes. And yeah, but I finally actually played through the game and finished it in September, and that was quite enjoyable. Vergil's very fun to play. I never really put any time into playing as him in the other Devil May Cry's, but he's definitely fun to play in 5. So that's fun. Also in September, I bought and played Far Cry 5, which was okay. They changed some things about it that I wasn't super huge on, and there's this stupid thing where, like, when you do stuff out in the world and you complete missions, it fills up this meter, and then once you hit a certain amount in the meter, the antagonists send out guys to capture you, and basically it's inevitable. It's always going to happen because you're going to if you get hit once after a certain amount of time, like, because they just keep coming after you, at some point if you get hit once, it's like, oh, actually, you got hit with this drug and they put you to sleep and they captured you, and then you're just like in a story like one of the big story missions. And I just, as somebody who likes to just fuck around and do side stuff, that really didn't gel with me, because then I'd be in the mood to just sit down and watch YouTube and plug stuff out with a chopper, but then they'd be like, fuck you. I'd be even in a helicopter and they'd still hit me with it somehow and fucking drag me into these story missions, and I didn't really care for the antagonists or anything. So yeah. Game not super fantastic. The opening was really good. But other than that, it was kind of iffy. So it's now in the come back to category because I haven't played the DLC and I want to go clean up all the side stuff. Lastly, in September, Rick and Morty Season 5 came out. I believe it was pretty good. I can't remember anything about it at this point. All I remember about Rick and Morty was I got into it when only 1 and 2 were out, and I really enjoyed them. 3 was kind of iffy in my opinion, but I believe this isn't a now speculation. This is a speculation I've already made before, and I'm just sticking to it. I think that I had too high of expectations for Season 3 watching it air each night. Well, not each night, each week, because I was expecting too much from each episode. But then having watched season 4 in a binge once all the episodes were out, and then I watched season 5 in a binge with all the episodes out. I really enjoyed them. So, yeah, Rick and Morty's still great as far as I'm concerned. So, fuck you if you disagree, basically. Now, moving into October, we're oh god, we're almost fucking free. October, I played Far Cry 6 right at release, and it was also alright. I had really good thoughts about it early on, but then as time kind of dragged on, there's parts of it that just didn't really sit well with me, and the ending was kind of fucked up, but also kind of anticlimactic. I don't know. It was weird. I really don't know. The fucked up thing is I can't even multiple times in the past few months I've thought of Far Cry 6 and I can't even remember anything about it. I can't remember the setting. I can't remember the villain. Now for this podcast, I looked at the cover and I'm like, "Oh, I remember now all the shit that happened." But just if I randomly think of Far Cry and I'm trying to remember what happened in Far Cry 6, I just draw a fucking blank, which is really not good, right? But whatever, man. It's not I had good thoughts of it really early on, but then they just kind of fell off over time. I didn't completely clear out all the side stuff, but I want to, so it's in the come back to category. And also there's the DLC to play, which they've already released 2 of, apparently. I saw on my Xbox yesterday, so only 1 more to release, and then I'll be free to finish it off and move on with my life. Pretty cool. Also in October, this is a pretty sad thing, my hard drive for my computer crapped out. That's why I don't have the image anymore, and that's why I don't have my music for the most part anymore, except for on my phone. So, what happened exactly? I don't know. I think somehow something some dust obliterated my hard drive or something. So, what's the anatomy of my laptop? My laptop had... Well, it has. I'm still using it. It's still perfectly functional. I just minus that hard drive. It came with a 256 gigabyte SSD and a 1 terabyte hard drive, which is where I stored all my pictures and memes and just resources for Vague Luminary stuff, as well as fucking programs and all that other fucking bullshit, right? And my music, and that crapped out for some reason. I had an external 2 terabyte hard drive that I had for a while that I put games on until I moved that over to my Xbox because I bought a 1 terabyte SSD that I hooked up externally somewhere around maybe August or something. Maybe you could have slipped that in there somewhere. I don't know. So I moved my hard drive to my fucking Xbox, and then I fucking my brain's slowing down, sorry. Anyway, it crapped out. I busted it open, and for whatever reason, it had a bunch of fucking dust all over it. Really weird. I don't know. But while it was hooked up, my computer just flat out just basically couldn't fucking work because I'd turn it on and then it would just be super slow. We're not talking a mid-2000s PC. We're talking it just couldn't fucking open anything. It just barely load onto the desktop, and then if I'd click a button, it just wouldn't even fucking open anything. And I was like, well, this really sucks. And the worst part was that it wasn't obvious when it happened. It's just one day when I fucking turned it on, it just suddenly just couldn't do anything. And I was like, well, this is fucking fucked, right? So currently, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I want to... My boss had an idea for a program to maybe try fixing it through hooking up externally, but the program can't even find the hard drive, so that's surely not a good sign. I've still got it. I don't know what I'm doing with it. Maybe I'll bring it into Best Buy and, get some kind of quota for whatever. I managed to put my external 1 terabyte SSD into the internal slot physically on my computer, which was pretty cool. And so that's what I did. But, yeah. Sorry, I thought my phone went off. So that's what's going on right now. So right now it's basically the same as it's always been in terms of storage space, but I have quite a few games installed, and I haven't put my music back on my computer because it's like 200 gigs or some crazy shit, right? And yeah, but when I want to, it's not as bad as it could be because I have all my music on my phone and it's literally just in a folder. It doesn't have to go through some stupid shit like iTunes. So when I want to put it back on my computer, it will be just as simple as copying, pasting the folders over just like before. So that's something I'm very happy about. Shout out to this phone. If I hadn't done that, my life would be in a different place right now, actually, if I hadn't have bought this phone with all that fucking space. So there's that. So that's something I'm still unresolved, unfortunately. It also, another thing that emotionally fucks me up is I have, at least I used to, my wallpapers on my desktop set up to be actually rotating. I'm one of those shuffly wallpaper guys, and plan, my plan and what I had done for, a year and a half or 2 years now, was I had a folder that would have one wallpaper from each of my most favorite things, and it would just cycle through them. I had one for Berserk, Evangelion, obviously Metal Gear, NieR, fucking March Comes In Like a Lion, Steins Gate, Hunter x Hunter, Yu Yu Hakusho, all those great things, right? But now, it was like maybe 16 or 17 at this point. But now, that wasn't the case. So when it broke, the only one that was left that still worked was Elder Scrolls, and that's just a basic Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion wallpaper that was just the only wallpaper for my desktop for months now. And only actually just before I did this podcast, I switched it over to the Evangelion one because I remembered what it was and I switched it over. It's like a vectorized form of from the opening when Unit 2 pulls out its progressive knife and like has the like in tune with the music and like sticks it out and has its hand behind it or whatever. It's like a vector of that, and it's really cool, and it's on like a really dark red background. I really like it. So yeah, I don't know what my plan is with my hard drive. There's nothing scandalous on it or anything, so I don't really care. It's not like it's precarious to bring it in somewhere. All I need off of it is like my pictures, like my memes and stuff, because I would like to still have that stuff, because that has like all my Discord emotes and also other stuff that I was working on at the time. So that would be cool, just, a whole terabyte of hard drive space that I was, using. That would be kind of cool to get back. Obviously, it goes without saying, I think anybody could fucking infer this and also just say it themselves. Obviously, I don't mind buying another hard drive. That's not a fucking issue. The issue is simply that I don't know how to get what I had off of the old one. So that's the struggle part. But I'm sure literally everybody has that thing. There's probably very few people that have a hard drive crap out and they're like, fuck, what am I going to do now? If I was not working and I had no money, then yes, that would be my sentiment. But I can obviously just go buy another hard drive. So no problems there. The problem simply is I can't just magically have the stuff come back onto the hard drive just because I buy another hard drive. So that's the frustrating part. But anyway, November. What about November? What's so crazy about November? Well, Elden Ring is coming out in February, just a month away. Can you believe it, guys? In just a month. Whoa! Elden Ring is going to be the next From Software game that got announced in like 2018, and then we didn't fucking hear anything about it for like 2 years. They fucking announced it, and then they said, all right, well, we'll be back when we're, almost ready to release it. And we're like, well, what? You don't want to just, like, you don't even want to tease us? What the fuck, man? And then they dropped a gameplay trailer. They dropped a trailer in general, I think at the end of, when was it? I think it was at the end of 2020, maybe, 2021? No, somewhere in, I think it was 2020. You know what, I can't fucking remember. My point is, they dropped another trailer and showed gameplay, and everybody fucking lost their minds. And then they put out like a 20-minute gameplay preview that looks amazing. And then they even had a closed network test. So I'm hyped. I'm a Dark Souls fan. I've played Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 about 3 times a piece. And I've played through Sekiro, and I really fucking liked it. And so I'm hyped as hell for Elden Ring, right? I'm a fucking FromSofty boy. Only problem is... Actually, I'll address one more thing. So during the closed network test, right, I really fucking wanted to be in there. I really wanted to be one of those fucking people, right? I just really wanted to fucking play Elden Ring early. But there were 3 kinds of people. You know, there was a thing that was like, hey, you know, fill out this survey, you know, and fucking give us your email. You know, I joked about it after the fact. Well, I guess I shouldn't tell the story out of order. So I sent in my information, and then as time went on, and the closed network test was about to start, and everybody got their fucking emails, here's how everything worked out, right? There were 3 kinds of people. You had people that got the email, and it's like, well, hey, there you go, boom, here's your download code to fucking play the closed network test, and have a great time, you know, fucking see ya in the lands between, you know, have a good one. And then there's the second group of people that got the email that's like, well, we have unfortunately not picked you for the closed network test, so thank you for your interest, but you'll just have to wait for the full game, you know, or you know, whatever. And then there are people like me in the third category that just didn't even fucking get an email back. And that really sucked. That really stung. Just that it's like, you know, it's like, just tell me no, you fucking bastards. But they were like, no, we're not even going to tell them. But like I was saying, I joked about it after the fact. They're like, well, clearly on the survey, I pointed out that I had, you know, they asked you what FromSoft games you'd played before. And I was like, well, I've played Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Sekiro. So my joke was, well, clearly, you know, they were like, well, this fucker's going to buy the game anyway, so who cares? Right? Fuck it. It's not, there's no marketing to be done here. The guy's going to buy it anyway. He's marketing for us. He's telling people about the game. You know, we don't have to give him a shit, right? But yeah, who knows? Closed network test, obviously, it's to test the people playing the fucking, test the servers, blah, 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 blah. So, the problem with Elden Ring coming out is that I, with a PS5 and a PS4, you know, a year before, I have ways to play FromSoft games that I've wanted to, and I simply hadn't yet. So, what do? I think I play them before Elden Ring comes out. So, in November, I had finished playing Bloodborne, as well as the Old Hunters DLC. And Bloodborne is fucking great. Bloodborne, on the flaw side, has probably the least amount of build variety, and just it feels very much like here's just how you play through Bloodborne. It doesn't really feel like there's a whole ton of non-linearity to it, or just it feels not linear or railroaded, but just it there doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of build variety, and also PvP basically doesn't exist, which is unfortunate. But all that aside, Bloodborne's probably the best Soulsborne game, because it has an atmosphere and a vibe to it the whole way through that just is unmatched by the Souls games and most games in general, frankly. It's a horror action game, and not like Resident Evil or, you know, fucking Dino Crisis or whatever the hell you want to cite, right? Where it's like, it's a horror game with also action bits. It's an action game, but all of the thematic everything is horror. You're never, like, in a position where you can't fight something. It's simply that, like, you're going to be fighting things, but you're just going to be fucking scared out of your mind the whole time. And that's a really weird, empowering, and just dreadful thing to experience. So, yeah. I played all the way through Bloodborne. Technically, I haven't finished it yet, only because, unfortunately, it follows the rule of kill the final boss and immediately go to New Game Plus, which sucks, unfortunately. So I haven't killed the final boss yet because I'm hoping to play a little bit of the DLC with my I'm hoping to play a little bit of the DLC with my Australian friend. But it's just hard to get us both together because I'm hardly ever up at this time of day, and this time of day is all that really works for him. So, yeah. So, if push comes to shove, I'll finish it before Elden Ring comes out. But I'm literally at the final boss, and I doubt it's going to be a challenge because I played through the DLC, and the DLC fucking ripped my asshole open, and I probably died more to a couple of the bosses than the DLC each than I did the entire base game. The base game was a little rough in spots. I definitely died quite a few times, but overall it wasn't that bad. But the DLC, good God, the DLC fucking annihilated me. I was not expecting it. It was also very nice in the DLC to get one last little uncovering morsel of lore that just really fucking just fit the puzzle together and really just made everything click. And I really appreciated that. So, yeah, Bloodborne's fucking awesome. It's a fantastic fucking game. I absolutely believe in the concept of buying a PS4 just for Bloodborne. Of course, it's too late now for me to champion that, but Bloodborne's fucking great, and it's really unfortunate that it got a boost mode patch for PS4 Pro that just makes it run a bit smoother, but it's only 30 FPS still. And PS5 games, one thing I hate about the PS5 and Sony compared to Microsoft is nothing on PS5 runs any better than the PS4 Pro. If it was a PS4 game, it might run better than the PS4 Pro, but there are no special patches for it. And also the PlayStation isn't built for that. It specifically sections games into the PS5 and the PS4, whereas the Xbox Series X is basically just an Xbox One that's more powerful still. So if you're on any of those consoles, Microsoft has something called Smart Delivery, where the console knows what console it is, and therefore it will download the version of the game that it needs. So if you buy, let's say, Doom Eternal, for example, which is now a first-party Xbox game. How cool is that? Doom Eternal has Smart Delivery. So even if you buy a physical disc, it doesn't matter what the case says. The case might be updated to say Series X, it might not. You pop the disc into the machine. If it's an Xbox One, it'll download the Xbox One version and it will run like it's an Xbox One. But if you put it in a Series X, it'll download the Series X version and run like it's on the Series X. So that's super fucking cool. And they don't get treated as two different games. It just gets treated as, the game that runs for this platform and the game that runs for that platform. So that's pretty fucking cool. But while PS5 has games that come out on both PS5 and PS4, they get treated as both, and they don't have smart delivery, so there's no instance of popping a PS4 game into your PS5 and having it download the PS5 version, unless you've bought the digital upgrade for something like Death Stranding or something. Yeah, so that kind of sucks. So Bloodborne is a fucking phenomenal video game. It's really, really, really cool and really interesting and really, really fun and just fucked up. But the sadness is that it's still locked to 30 frames per second all these years later. Even one entire generation later, they just can't be fucking bothered. And I know what you're saying. Well, what do you want FromSoft to do? Go back and work on a fucking game from like 5 or 6 years ago? But I will say, smart delivery and updating Xbox One games for Series X is done by the developer. So I'm not going to say, yeah, well, Microsoft says that. I will say, though, one thing. All of the backward compatibility that goes on at Xbox One, when they patch it and they upgrade it for the other consoles, it doesn't require any input from developers at all. They just need the publisher's okay to make it backward compatible, and then Microsoft has its own team that fine-tunes the emulator to run the games better, or just et cetera, to make them play on Xbox One, which is fucking crazy. So the developers don't have to do shit. They don't have to, cough up the build. They don't have to be like, oh, let me go boot up Unreal Engine 3 to fucking do this on my fucking, old computer. And none of that. They don't have to do anything, which is super cool. But, yeah. I'm still glad I have both consoles, so fuck you. Bloodborne, good. DLC, very, very hard, but also very good. Hype for Elden Ring. There you go. Next up in November, I played the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot Trunks DLC. It was alright. It did what it came there to do, and then they added an extra update later that made Gotenks and Vegito playable after the story, which was good, because they made them playable in the story, but only for like a couple specific fights. You couldn't just use them in other places or, just after. So that was cool. They always deliver fucking awesome animation with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and I really hope they find an excuse to expand it. Not even a sequel, but just an expansion of some sort. Like a sequel expansion that would cover Super in some way, because then I could continue to not watch Dragon Ball and just fucking keep playing it, right? Next up, I finished Castlevania Circle of the Moon thanks to the Castlevania Advanced Collection that came out in like October. It took me a while to fucking get through Circle of the Moon just because it was a little rough. Frankly, having Symphony of the Night as my only Castlevania experience beforehand, but, it was what it was. It was a bit rough playing Circle of the Moon. There were a lot of really hard parts, especially the fucking battle arena. I abused so much rewinding for that piece of shit area. But I did it. I finished it, regardless of how much bitching I did. I just think it sucked that Symphony of the Night had just come out, and then they put out Circle of the Moon was a launch title for the Game Boy Advance, I believe, and it's just unfortunate that they started to implement the stuff from Evangelion that would be like, like picking up weapons and unlocking stuff and abilities and whatnot, but they were still, I'm not going to say we're restricted or forced the player, but just the fact that you're using a whip through the entire game, and you can get spell cards that change it into a sword, but for the most part, there's no customization of weapons, and the whip sucks. Just throwing that out there. In comparison to being Alucard and being able to use all these different weapons that behave in different ways and all this other fun stuff. Nobody I've seen would say that Circle of the Moon is better than Symphony of the Night. As far as I know, the big battle is between Symphony of the Night and Aria of Sorrow, which I'm pumped to play, but I have one more game in between I gotta play to get there. However, Castlevania Advanced Collection is in the come back to category, just like all those others, because just don't have it in me right now. Though I think it's Ritual of the Night, maybe. I don't remember what the second one is called. It's not awful. I've heard it's better than Circle of the Moon, but it's Aria of Sorrow, the third one, that's like the fucking granddaddy, where like they basically put Symphony of the Moon on Game Boy Advance, but also like it's an actual sequel that further develops on the ideas and stuff, which sounds fucking awesome. Symphony of the Night is one of my favorite games of all time because I don't really talk about it much because I played through it in 2 entire afternoons back to back, and then I was done, and I did everything in it. But it's just an instance of every single fucking element of a game just firing on all cylinders, and just everybody from the graphic artist to the soundtrack composers just fucking doing their absolute utmost to produce a fucking fantastic video game. So Symphony of the Night's awesome. So let me just gather myself for a minute here, We're getting so close. Ooh, we're getting so close. Ooh. Oh, man, what a nice long episode. Lightning round, by the way. November, with Black Friday, I made some good acquisitions. you know. And with it, I got a new monitor for my side monitor instead of whatever the fuck. I was using just some, not rinky-dink, but just like a normal, like almost office like monitor for my second monitor. And now I have a nice, I don't know what it's called exactly, and I'm too fucking lazy to look it up. It might be in my display settings here. Let's fucking find out here. If I advanced display settings, it's an MSI G271 gaming monitor. That's right. Including, you know, going up to 144 hertz and all that fun stuff. It's 27 inches. It's a big boy. And frankly, it's too fucking powerful. You know, I don't need that for a second screen, but you know, it's also a great start if I get a desktop here pretty soon, which I'm not entirely in the market for, but you know, I it's something I'm thinking about, you know, somewhere. But it's just nice. It's an even bigger screen. It looks even better than my old monitor, so I can put YouTube stuff there. And it even has 2 HDMI ports, so I bought an extra long HDMI cord, and I can snake that over so I can play one of my consoles on there and just have it just fucking smack dab right next to my computer, which is pretty cool. So there's that. The new MSI monitor, which I had actually kept a secret from direct feed this entire time for no reason whatsoever. I really should just mention it finally, I guess. Also, my parents got a new TV. They got the same TV that I got, but a year newer and 55 inches instead of 50 inches. So now my parents actually have a better TV than I do. But whatever, who cares? Also, we split a new modem and router. Split the cost, I should say. We didn't literally just cut them in half. Which has led to far, far faster internet speeds in this household, which is really, really nice. And it was a bitch to set up. It took me like an entire afternoon after work to fucking set it up, and then it was like a day where my timings were compressed, so I got off later and I had to go to bed sooner for the next day, and it took me like 4 hours, and like my entire 4 hours just were gone trying to set that shit up because of a bunch of stupid stuff. But I got it done. And now we've even got 5G internet going around here, and everything's super fucking fast, and everything's connected, and nobody dies from a conflict of interest in the broadband space, or however you want to describe it. You know, when you have too many devices hooked up to a router, you know, they start to strangle each other trying to get the connection. So, back in November, I got a new side monitor that's really fucking snazzy. Also, if I play games with a controller on my computer, I just play them over here on the monitor, because then they can run up to 144 hertz, 144 frames per second, and then it's right in my face, you know, pretty fucking awesome. And that modem and router, that's the highlights from November. So now we're in December, almost caught up here, fucking thank goodness. All these amazing things have happened. Whoa! So, let's just kind of run through these, right? December brought us Halo Infinite. And of course, there's no fucking question. Of course I played Halo on my fucking Xbox. Let's go. What am I going to do? Play it on a computer? What, are you crazy? Get the fuck out of here. They did the thing where they released the multiplayer month early, which was really cool. And people kind of started to suspect it, and that's the term I want to use, like a few days before it happened. That was fun. Again, it's too late for me to comment on it really, but that was cool. I was there for that. I played some. I hadn't played any of the closed flights or anything, so my first experience with it was playing it when that dropped, and it was quite fun. It took me a few matches to kind of get rolling in the way that it feels, because I was too used to Halo 5 stuff, and Halo Infinite's a much more classic feeling, but I was able to pull it off, and, you know, fucking awesome. So then the campaign came out a bit later, and you know what? It was pretty fucking good. It's not fantastic, it's not jaw-dropping, it's not a fucking masterpiece. Some people may say that. But it's really fun. The grappling hook that they give you from the fucking first second of gameplay is fantastic. I can't imagine Halo without it now. I can't wait for multiplayer custom matches to be made where it's just Team Slayer, but everybody has an infinite use grappling hook. It's going to be fucking crazy. And the ending was really, really good. I was a little iffy on it as we came up to the end, but the last like 8 or 9 minute stretch of cutscenes is really, really good. And all I can really say is that it feels like it'll be obvious when you get there, but it just feels like 343 did all of that just to kind of apologize for how 4 and 5 kind of turned out and just how Halo has become what it has under their tutelage after, 1 through Reach were fucking super greatly received for the most part. So it's just really cool, and it makes the future really, really bright for Halo. Right now, people are still bitching and fighting for better cosmetic system stuff and whatnot, and I totally get that. So it's not without faults, unfortunately. But the gameplay is phenomenal, and let me tell you, the gameplay was the most important thing to get right, because it's easier to fix the cosmetics. The gameplay is the part where, like, if you get it fucking wrong, there's going to be 1,000 people telling you 50,000 different ways to fix it, and then it gets really hard to tell what's actually the best thing to do about each of those little things, So the gameplay's fucking great, and that's what matters. And it's been a while, and I don't know how much I do it anymore, but in December, I would pretty frequently load it up for the day and just play like an hour or two, just playing against randoms in like Fiesta or Team Slayer or whatever. And I genuinely would have fun, and I don't have genuine fun with video games much anymore. I gotta be completely honest. It's more driven by checkboxes and lists for the most part, but I do genuinely have fun from time to time when I'm playing Halo, and that's really cool. It makes me really happy to like Halo again, because I've seen many franchises go from I really like this to now I don't really know how I feel about it anymore, such as Star Wars and Fallout, and it's really cool to see something like Halo come back and to, yeah, actually, yes, I do really like Halo. So that's cool, because I used to be a pretty big Halo guy back when 3 came out and when Reach came out, but then when 4 came out, I was like, so, yeah. On the same train as Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5 came out, and people really liked it, and it was just basically another Forza Horizon game. I wasn't blown away. I was glad to have another Forza game, and it looks and runs really fucking great on my Xbox. I spent most of it playing it on my second monitor through my Xbox, so that was cool. It's cool, but there's just not a whole... I was sad. I've only played Forza Horizon 3 and a little bit of Motorsport 5, but I was sad that there wasn't some kind of like small city somewhere like there was in 3, because I like city racing the most. Road racing is all right, but city racing is my stuff. That's where I cut my teeth, so to speak. So I don't really care about off-road stuff. I don't really care about like road-based stuff. I wanted city driving, so I did play through it to the point of getting into the Hall of Fame, which maybe is a cop-out, but I mean, at least it's like a pedestal to shoot for, because you have to unlock all of the showcases to get there, so yeah, showcases and stories and shit, so... I wish I got into it more, but I just didn't, even though everybody around me was really enjoying it. We had a lot of fun talking about the game, at least in the server, while we were all playing it, so that's cool. Also in December, I got the 2 terabyte expansion card for my Xbox Series X. Now, hilariously, they announced... so, when the Series X came out, they also put out a 1 terabyte little expansion card SSD thing for it that's like the shape of a PS2 memory card, and there's a little slot on the back of your Xbox you can stick it in, and it's the same SSD that the internal SSD is built from, so it's not just more hard drive space, but it's more like super fucking blazing fast space, right? And I thought about getting one, but we didn't carry it at our store. Otherwise, I would have gotten one by now. However, a bit later, they announced they're like, well, we're also going to make a 512 gigabyte model, but also a 2 terabyte model. And I was like, really? That's like so much space. I don't even need that much space. But then I could never worry about it again. So yeah, I was like, cool, I want to get one of those. So they announced it, and they're like, cool, a month from now, they'll be available. So keep an eye on them. I'm like, okay, cool. So then time passed, and then they didn't say anything about them ever again. And then I Googled it, and I found them at Best Buy, and they were sold out. And I was quite distraught and sad, and I was like, but I just wanted this thing. I don't want to deal with scalpers, and let me tell you, working in electronics, there's plenty of scalpers and just scuzzy people. Like, A, there's scuzzy people, and then B, there's scuzzy people by like moral grounds that just do stupid shit because they want to just resell stuff or just get a free pair of AirPods again or some shit, So I was sad, and I was typing up a story a couple days later to post in direct feed about it, and then I looked again, and then they were back in stock, so I ordered one, and I locked it in. So then it took about a month, and then it shipped to Best Buy, and I fucking got that bad boy. So now I've got 3 terabytes of Black Voodoo Magic SSD space on my Series X, and it's not just SSD, it's like, I don't know what the numbers are. I can't be bothered to look up the numbers. You can look them up, but like, the SSD, the velocity architecture, they call it, SSD, that the Series X has, and the expansion card has in it as well, is like even faster by like a decent margin than traditional SSDs. So we're talking not only, so I mean, boom, you got the 2 metrics of storage, right? It's super fucking fast, and there's a whole lot of it. What's not to like, right? It's ridiculous. So it's fucking awesome. I love it. Lastly, in December, quick footnote for Christmas. The best thing I got for Christmas, it was a genuine shock. It was something that my face immediately lit up when I saw it, and I teared up a bit, actually, a little. I don't know if anybody saw, but my eyes like definitely got wet a bit. I didn't cry at all, but just I could feel my eyes get very wet. I got a new pair of kick pedals for my drum set. And I know you're saying, okay, well, that's really, it was a big box. It was a really heavy box. And I got a pair of Iron Cobra 900 kick pedals. Those bad boys are like fucking $500, okay? I had pretty much written off getting anything more than like $100 in a gift from Santa for the rest of my life. Because my mentality was also like, well, if I really want something expensive, I'll go buy it myself, because I literally can, because that's why you work a job, so supposedly. So when I got that, I just threw it on my wish list along a few other things, just fuck it, right? Yeah, maybe. And then I got it, and I was like, holy fucking shit, no way, right? So I'm pretty jazzed about that. I played some drums actually just earlier today. I don't play as often as I used to. I probably play maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks now, which sucks. It used to be like twice a week, but again, I'm just kind of worn out from work all the time. So I'm working around it though. So that was the best thing I got for Christmas. And now finally, we got one more thing to cover here in January 2022, and that is I played the Call of Duty Vanguard campaign, and I gotta say, it was pretty good, actually. The structure was really interesting. It wasn't always a masterpiece or anything, but the way it wrapped up, I really, really enjoyed the last mission, and the only thing that I really hate about it is that I really want another game with those same characters and that cast of people, but I don't know if we're going to get one, because what are they going to do? Fucking Call of Duty Vanguard 2. Huh? The problem, the game takes place during 45 anyway, so like they literally, Berlin falling and Hitler being dead are plot points that they talk about in the campaign. So it's not like that special unit of World War II, commandos would have, a whole lot more to do after the story, which sucks. So I don't know. But it was really good, actually. I really enjoyed it. Hit a lot of the classic hallmarks that you want from a Call of Duty campaign, and I enjoyed the characters and the missions. So cool stuff. Glad I played it. Again, circling back. If you're glad you did something, then that's how you know whether it was good or not, regardless of how you felt at the time. So now we're caught up. That's all this fucking stupid shit that I've done ever since then. Ever since the last episode. It's a whole year and 4 or 5 months. Hooey. So now we gotta just briskly cover what I'm currently doing and a short glimpse into the future. An extremely short glimpse into the future, if you will. What am I doing right now? Well, I've got 5 current projects. My brain is still able to do simple arithmetic, I promise. And I've got them all set up in Steam. So I have filler programs that I add to Steam, and then I rename them and give them funny custom artwork so that it's like I have these PlayStation and Xbox games on Steam, even if I don't. So the current memes are Bloodborne, which like I said, I'm basically done with. There's literally like half an hour of gameplay left in Bloodborne before I'm in New Game Plus. And if I don't play Bloodborne with my friend before Elden Ring comes out at the end of February, then I'll just fucking finish it off, a few days before Elden Ring comes out. I'm also playing Demon's Souls. Right now, I started about 2 weeks ago. I only have one world left, and then I'm basically done. So I completed one world a couple days ago in like 2 hours. So, there's it's not a very long game, and I really didn't know a whole lot about it before going into it. And it's weird because obviously all the footage I'd seen before was the PS3 version, and now I'm playing the PS5 version. So it's weird, but I'm enjoying it. It took a little while to kind of get over the initial whatever of it. I always have this initial not apprehension, but just almost fear whenever I play a Soulsborne game that started with Sekiro, where it's like I get through a bit of it, but then I reach a point where I kind of almost lose interest because I think I'm afraid of progressing for some reason. But then at some point, it's not a conscious thing, but at some point I just get over it and I'm like, I just want to see what the hell's out there. So I just start stomping through and I just play it voraciously, And it happened with Bloodborne and it happened with Demon's Souls, but now I'm almost done with Demon's Souls. So that's pretty fucking exciting. And I've got a whole month to finish it. I'll probably finish it tomorrow, if not tonight, if not the next day. And pretty cool, huh? Another current project is Dragon Quest Builders 2, my first Dragon Quest game, and obviously not representative of the classic Dragon Quest gameplay formula, I know that much. I started in, I think, maybe August of last year or something like that, and it really charmed me, especially with how it's like a Minecraft game, so that gives you a point of reference, but I really like that it has a story to it, and that like a lot of it revolves around building blueprints, so you have to go like it's like building a Lego, where it's like they're like, okay, go get these materials and then put them in these exact spots. And I like that. I like following the rules. I'm a good little rule follower. I already said that earlier during this exact podcast. So I like that they're like, okay, here's this building we want you to build, and you're going to want to put, a ring of wood here, and then 3 braziers over here, and a couple stools here, and whatever. And I like that a lot. I was addicted to it. The first few days I played it like from when I got up to when I went to bed because I was addicted to it. And then I got to the second world and I just kind of fell off for some reason. So I hope that when I get to the next world after that, that I'm kind of rehooked again. So yeah, that's another game that I'm working on. I'm also working on Monster Hunter World Iceborne, which has been coming along quite nicely. I played World before a while back, and then I finally started Iceborne, I think in like July of last year. And technically I finished the Iceborne story, but now I'm pretty much playing it just for my friend's sake, who's like this massive Monster Hunter nerd now, and has like over like 2,000 hours or some shit in World alone. And every Monster Hunter game ends with, at least through updates for World, but eventually ends with a monster called Fatalis, which is basically this big black dragon and just fucking kills hunters and shit. So they finally added him in a post-game patch, like way, way long ago at this point. But yeah, so we're getting me prepped to be able to fight Fatalis. And then he said, oh, if you kill Fatalis, that's good enough. But I want to make the full Fatalis set because at that point there's nothing left in the game to do. So they always make it fucking like game breakingly busted. So why not do it, right? Right now we're getting pretty damn close to the end because I had to grind my level essentially all the way up to 100 MR 100 Master Rank 100, and I did that. It took a long time of grinding one quest that takes like 15 minutes over and over and over and over and over, and it's worth about 80% of a level every time. And he's like, fuck that, I'm not doing that, you gotta do that on your own time. So I did. It took a while to motivate myself, because I don't even really like the core gameplay of Monster Hunter that much, but I did it. And I'm fucking MR 100 now, or at least I'm on the cusp of it after I complete a story mission. So I gotta complete a story mission, and then I gotta fight a monster, fight it again, and then finally I'll be able to fight Fatalis. So it's gonna be fucking crazy. And that's gonna be crazy. So fucking, I know that's literally just what I said, but I'm getting very tired, and that's just what we're doing, and I've been talking so much, and I haven't grabbed another drink other than that Mountain Dew that I explained when I finished it a while ago. So yeah, but the last current project, as you can hear, Bloodborne's basically done. Demon Souls is almost over. Dragon Quest Builders 2, I may be like 30% of the way through, so that's fair, maybe 40%. Iceborne is almost over, and then the last project here is, of course, Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. I just got to get back to playing it. I think I'm only 40 or 50% of the way through the game. When I get back to it, I will absolutely, I'll probably see what story mission I'm on, and then go to the wiki and like read the synopsis of like all the previous missions or whatever, just to know what the hell's going on. But yeah, that's what I'm currently doing, and I'm really fucking pumped for Elden Ring in late February. I've actually requested a week off. I'm gonna take up my paid vacation during that, and I'm just gonna fucking revel in having a whole fucking week off to play Elden Ring. So I can't wait to just fucking stock up on goodies, and I've already planned I'm going to get some Sunny D and a bunch of blue Gatorade for my Estus and Ashen Estus equivalents, even though it's not... There are equivalents in Elden Ring, but they're not called Estus because it's not Dark Souls, technically. Yeah. So I'm getting fucking hyped for that. Only other thing I'll say is, so I'm trying really hard not to start anything new until I'm caught up with all my stuff, which is something I've always said, but I've just really been good on buckling down for it, because I don't know what... I think Dragon Quest Builders 2 was the last new thing I started, other than Bloodborne and Demon Souls, but those had to get done before Elden Ring anyway, so... On the horizon, here's the really, really short next potential thing update, because we never know until I'm actually catch up and know what I want to do at that exact moment in time. All I'll say is the two things I really want to do, like right now in the past few days, is I want to watch Dr. Stone because the base premise interested me, and I heard about it way, way long ago before it even had an anime, and it was just in manga form. And there's this character Geen who has such a fucking cool design to me that I just want to watch the show just to see him in action because he has a really cool design. I like the weird like lightning bolt stripe on his face, and he just is always so fucking smug, and I love smug characters, so I think I'm really gonna dig him. And the other thing is I really want to go finish playing the rest of the Yakuza games. I own now 3, 4, 5, and 6 on PC. I own Lost Paradise, the Fist of the North Star game, on PlayStation, and I own Judgment and Lost Judgment on Xbox. So I'm primed for it. You know, I've really gone out of my way. I have one game left on Xbox that I want to buy. That's $20. That's like just a small indie game, and there's like 6 games on sale on PSN on my wish list that I'm gonna buy when I go back to work and I get some more gift cards. Because I can get them discounted, and so I can have slightly stronger buying power because of my employee discount. Isn't that fucked up? But there's like 6 things I'm gonna buy on PSN. I bought a fuckload just a couple months ago. And then when I'm done with that, when I go back to work, I'll have 3 things left on my PSN wish list, 2 of which aren't even out yet. So not a big fucking problem. And I'm looking forward to hopefully maybe doing a mass console cleaning of to-do games in the future. But at least in this exact moment in time, Dr. Stone and Yakuza are what I'm most pumped about after Elden Ring, of course. So Elden Ring is absolutely getting jumped on in February. Oh god, for a moment I looked over and I thought I wasn't recording. It's absolutely getting jumped on in late February. And nothing's going to get in the fucking way when that shit lands. I can't wait to just play the shit out of it. I'm going to do a bunch of different builds. I might do challenge runs even. I don't know. It's going to be fucking dope, dude. I can't wait to watch lore videos and PvP videos and PvE videos and speedrun videos and glitch videos and meme videos and useless data videos. And it's so good. It's like, especially because of the multiplayer of those games, it's such an event when one of those games comes out. It's not like other AAA games where it's like, oh, you know, cool, we'll play the campaign once, and then we'll play the multiplayer for a bit, and then we'll move on. It's like, no, these games, they live and breathe. The Dark Souls games, there's always people that are passionate about them. There's always people that will be playing them for the first time, and there's always people that will be there to help people and hinder people as well. So they're just always just active. They feel like games that never end because you can always go do another playthrough and you'll see all these bloodstains and see all these messages and see all these phantoms and stuff. It's crazy. They're awesome. And God, it's been so long since Dark Souls 3 came out. We're finally gonna get another fucking FromSoft game with multiplayer, because Sekiro was the last one that came out before and it didn't have any multiplayer. You all know the story, hopefully. If not, what are you fucking here for? Why don't you go fucking play some fucking video games? Fuck you, and fucking thanks for fucking tuning in, you fucking fucker. And I don't know when the next episode will happen. I don't think anybody did after the last one, but all I can say is the Luminary Life Update podcast is not officially dead. It simply is on indefinite hiatus. That's the plan. So don't worry about it. Eventually it'll be there. If you're ever interested in the goings on, you can get basically a daily form of the podcast in text form thrown right into your phone or computer or other computing device if you simply join my Discord server, linked in the description, and check out the Direct Feed channel. It's a channel where only I can post, and I post plenty, both in joking format and serious format, about whatever the fuck I'm interested in expressing today. So, that's all I really have to say about all that fucking shit. The server's always there. The server is like my fucking home base for all the fucking internet stuff I do. I can't wait to fucking go to bed because now it's 6 a.m. And yeah, so now I've got to re-listen to this back on maybe tomorrow. I mean, maybe tonight, maybe the next day, maybe it'll take even later because I gotta fucking take 3 hours to make sure everything's hunky dory and also set up all the timestamps and shit. So fuck you. And I hope everything's going well for you despite all this fucking nonsense that's going on this year. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.